Okay. Let's get after this thing, man. Hallelujahs. All right, first order of business. I have got to turn Metroid down in my ear plates. There we go. That ought to be a little bit better for the kid. What's going on, good people? We're just getting this show started off here. Prayerfully, all of you are. Go. Why don't I just turn that microphone on? I accidentally hit the mute button. Anyway, welcome back, friends. It's Metroid. It is indeed your man BC, the Tone Deaf Gamer, taking you on a trip down memory lane. How's the audio? You guys hearing me and the game well? Are you hearing the game too loud? Me too loud? What's the deal? What is happening? Yo, B, if you talk, we can't hear you, bro. Yeah, I thank you. The microphone I'm having to use to pull off the Frankenstein of electronics I had to build to do this stream. Many Bothans died to bring y'all this stream tonight, guys. For the love of Christ. In my spare time today, I probably invested 2 hours into Frankensteining all of the crap that's making this stream work. Because I am playing my original Metroid disc. This is not emulation. This is not on a Nintendo Switch. This is my original Metroid game. I wanted to play the one that I had from my childhood for the nostalgia, but also just out of respect for what tonight's show is going to be. See, you can't hear the game at all. That's good, because I have the game turned down so that you can hear me, but that means I need to turn it up a taste. Let's go ahead and bring the game up just a little, not too much. Let y'all hear a little something. There we go. But we're playing this on a Retron 5, which is then running HDMI out into a splitter, it's running through a splitter, which splits HDMI into two things, which takes one HDMI into my capture card because Elgato sucks. More on that later. And then the other split is going into another splitter, which takes the digital freaking HDMI signal and spits it out over optical audio into my headset so I can hear the game and you can hear the game and we can all see the game. because in this age of modern technology, nobody has invented a capture card that can just do that. We've been streaming for what, 15 years now, and that hasn't been figured out. Frickin' electronics making heathens. But anyway, we're gonna keep it positive tonight. It's good to see and hear everybody. Let me go let Discord know that we are indeed streaming live here at the good old Bryant Chambray's movement. Let's copy. Where's the link? How is WhatsApp still a thing? Old spying ass software. All right. There we go. Oh, wow. It actually captured. That's really cool. Yeah, Discord's pretty dope, man. So I just let Discord know we're streaming. Let's see who all's here. Then we'll get... We're playing Metroid, so I need to make sure I also have the maps pulled up. I can do a lot of this from memory, but I don't remember everything. Because I think I've beat this game... Because there was a time in my life where I would play and beat this game every year for a couple of years, and I want to say that was... I stopped doing that around 2015, and then... I'm trying to think. I've probably beat this game 8 times in my lifetime. I've played it way more than that, but actually from start to finish beat it probably 8. Because I used to wear this and Super Metroid out when I was a kid. But yeah, man, it's just a quick nostalgic trip down memory lane. Wanted to check in with all my Spartans, see how everybody's doing out there. I've spent a lot of time today helping a lot of the warriors that I mentor and just people in general. So I wanted to check in with the folks who are on these streams, let you know that I'm not dead. I know it's been a while since we've streamed. I have been away taking care of some mental and emotional health stuff. I've also had some deaths, plural, in the family, extended family. For me, it's actually on my wife's side, but no less traumatizing and sad. So I've been away, you know, about the stuff that went down on TikTok. We don't need to bring it back up. It's not really that big a deal. It is the nature of this hyper passive, unresilient world that we live in. It's just the way things are going to be. In fact, one of the live streams that I'll do from a mentoring perspective in the near future is kind of it'll be more of a lesson for men specifically, but just how to operate in more feminine energy, because the way the world is going, you better be able to get in touch with your feminine side if you want to have any taste of just being able to be socially relevant. You know, as a guy who displays quite a bit of masculine energy, I pay for that because we live in a world that just vilifies masculinity and assertiveness, you know, for this more passive, meriting everybody's feelings, blah, blah, blah. Which is great on one side. Meriting people's feelings is a very powerful thing and should be done. On the flip, sometimes we take things too far and we merit people's feelings who are just entitled and need to grow up a little bit. But anyway, Metroid. This, for years, has been my favorite game of all time. That's going to change probably here in the very near future. In fact, it's been in the process of changing. Frankly, I think Axiom Verge is a better Metroid. Nostalgically, I love this game more than Axiom Verge, but, you know, you're talking pound for pound, which one's the better game? I'm going to go with Axiom Verge. Nier Automata has been making quite the lobby for taking the #1 slot as my favorite game of all time. Another game that I have on my shelf next to me here. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, I am playing this, the original cartridge. It's not on original hardware. I am running it through a Retron 5 so I can get a clean signal that can broadcast well without glitches and stuff. But this is my original Metroid cartridge from my childhood, which I'm really excited to share with you. Talk about how did this game become kind of my favorite game of all time, because it wasn't at first. I didn't like this game when I first played it until I really figured out what it was all about and got some help. Because this game, as much as I complain about Zelda, if I'm not a hypocrite, I could say this game has some of the same challenges. It's just once you master it, you don't feel that anymore. Anyway, let's see who else here. We got Clem's in the house. Alejandro Baron is in the place. Let's see, who else we got here? iFlames is in the house. Clem says much better. Can't hear the game at all. Hey, what's up, says Harlequin. Clem says, I saw New Saints Row and part of me wants it to be good, but I know I'm not going to like it. Why do you think you're not going to like it? What do you think's gonna happen in the new Saints Row that you're gonna hate? And I saw something about Saints Row, but I could have sworn it looked like a DLC or something. Is it an actual full game? I saw like a headline in passing. I didn't like go look deep into it. But why do you think you're not gonna like this edition of Saints Row? Because Saints Row 4 is one of my favorite games from the Xbox 360 generation. I mean, despite its obvious flaws. Dang it. Dagnabbit. I was trying to keep my perfect health. All good. We'll make it work. Come on, get you some, Red. Oof! Always cut that one close. Come on, Big Green. Where you at? Oh, I thought there was another one. Missile time, baby. Clem says, I haven't played a new game that I like in a long time. I'm trying to think. What's the most recent game that I played that's new that I really like? Ghost Recon Breakpoint made the cut for games that I like. In fact, I got that right over here on my shelf. New games that I've liked. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I dig. It's not perfect, but it does get enough right for me to enjoy it and want to keep coming back to it. Ghost Recon Wildlands is the best shooter I've probably ever played. I'm looking forward, though, to playing Battlefield 2041. I got a feeling maybe they'll get that one right. Because Battlefield 3 was my favorite shooter of all time until Ghost Recon Wildlands came around. And then it was like, oh, okay, that's where we're taking things. So, is there anybody here who hasn't played and beaten this game before I start calling out, like, severe spoilers? Because that's, if you've never played this game, I'd like you to experience the ending without me spoiling that. That was a huge thing for me. When I saw it the first time as a kid, I was like, yo, that's actually really dope. Okay, so we got the long beam, right? Just went up there and got the long beam. Now, do I want to go get... What's over here? Is that more missiles? No, okay, that's Kraid and Ridley's hideout. And they named the alien that looks like the alien after the lady that kills aliens. Obvious alien reference there. Alright, so we're going back east to the yellow zone. I think this time we cut across. I'm looking at the map in case you guys are wondering what I'm talking about out loud here. Alright, that's the thing that goes down to Ridley's lair, which we're definitely not ready for. So we need to go the yellow zone and then cut across to... can I get down there? Not yet. Okay, so the bombs are what I need next. I just got to remember where they are. Got the long beam. Where are my bombs? Where are my bombs? Where are my bombs? Where are my bombs? Bombs, bombs, bombs. Where are the bombs? I don't know why I'm singing like it's going to be on beat. I keep forgetting. There's my bombs. Okay, so we're going Big Yellow all the way across to the far side. That's right. Clem says Saints Row 2 is my favorite. I've never played a Saints Row game besides 4, so I don't really know much about the series. I hated Grand Theft Auto so much when I was younger that when I saw Saints Row, I was like, well, if they're making clones of Grand Theft Auto, I'll pass. And then I realized when I played Saints Row 4, I was like, oh, this is like Grand Theft Auto if it was actually fun. Wow. I should probably look into this series. Clem doesn't like Tom Clancy games. Well, so it's hard to bend all Tom Clancy games together because Ghost Recon Wildlands is like no other Tom Clancy game I've ever played. Right? Because most Tom Clancy games are like Splinter Cell, which I hate stealth games, guys. I don't want to be sneaking around buildings, and when I get seen, the game's over. Ugh. And then so you've got Splinter Cell, and then you got, what else is part of that? The old Ghost Recon games are very different from the newer ones. And then Rainbow Six I actually liked. Rainbow Six Vegas I dug. I mean, you can't play it now because the controls are dated and weird, but it was cool at the time. Alright, let's push it. Oh, come on, Chambers. Walked right into that. So anyway, Metroid becomes eventually my favorite game of all time just because I love the exploration and I love the fact that it's just a fun, action-oriented run around, shoot people. And this game is kind of like an RPG. This was actually the game that turned me on to RPGs because you do kind of level up. You don't like get experience points and level up, but you find health tanks that give you more health. You find guns that make you more powerful and equipment that you can put on your suit that gives you abilities. So Metroid was really the first experience I had where it's like, oh, this leveling up thing is really cool, and I like that because in my real life I love being able to make myself stronger and better. And now I'm finding video games that let me do it in the game. Like, okay, cool. And, you know, the action is spot on dope. It's tight. And then you factor in it's not terribly long. You know, I grew up where, you know, a 10-hour game was long as hell. When I was a young dude, obviously, there were RPGs when I was a kid that were longer. Like, the original Final Fantasy came out long before I owned a Nintendo. And, you know, those are long-ass games. Let's see. Clem is excited for Metroid Dread. I'm not. Because I played Fusion and it made me want to punch people in the face. Like, stop effing with the formula. Just make Metroid. I don't need to have counter punches. Like, any video game that has the parry system or a riposte or however you say that dumbass French word. No. I don't want to do time button mashing. Especially not in Metroid. I got an hour into Metroid Fusion and was like, nope. This is not Metroid. This is game designers who forgot how to make dope shit, and now they got to make gimmicks and shit to get new people interested in it. Nope. Get off of my boat. Stick to the shit I know is dope. Terry's in the house. What's up, homie? All right. And so you can kind of piece together what the second half of the title of this show is about. So if I'm talking about all the stuff that I love about Metroid, it's obvious that modern games do a lot of the opposite, right? I tried to play Quantum Break. So the last couple of days, I've been playing different games to see what I wanted to stream to hang out with you guys. And I tried a bunch of different stuff that just sucked. I tried Greedfall, and I like Spiders games. And that was a nightmare. I tried some RPG boyfriend game. I was like, alright, whatever. Then I tried to play Quantum Break. And then 15 minutes later, the main protagonist was still being given a tour of a science facility. And, like, why am I not shooting things yet? And I've gotten to a place in my life where I don't really like shooters. And so people get this misconception, oh, he only likes action games. No! I don't want to just run around and mindlessly shoot shit. I don't like Doom that much. Those types of games aren't my thing. It's just I also don't want to listen to people talk for 3 hours before I touch the controller to do something besides turn on the prompt for them to start talking. I want to play whatever the play is. I didn't even get to the gameplay part of Quantum Break before I just deleted it. I was like, I can't play these games anymore. These long marathon games where the designers think they wrote something that's interesting, which it just isn't to me. I'm sure if I was 14, I'd be enthralled. Like, I got kids, man. I ain't got time to listen to you tell a boring ass story. And I'm just at the point where modern games are so focused on being movies. Like, I'm done. It's over. You know, back in 2013, 14, I gave up gaming. Was it 14? No, it was before that. It would have been right before I started doing YouTube stuff. So right around when I was shutting my website down to focus on my website business. and then getting away from making gaming stuff with my website right around 2012 is probably when that happened, 11 to 12, and I was still, you know, really active with my band at the time. And no. So that goes way further back for the band. But no. That's right. I was just coming to the end with my band, and I basically traded my whole gaming collection because I was like, none of these modern games suck. And that was at the end of the. That was kind of at the end of the. I want to say where I started to have problems was around the end of the PlayStation 2 generation. So that 2007 window, right? The new consoles are out, but I'm still kind of playing a lot of older stuff. And I just got to the point where it's like, I don't think video games are being made for the people who grew up in like the video game generation. So I'm old enough to remember going to video arcades at the mall. Right now they're kind of a novelty. Malls still have them in some cases, but like that was the thing you did when you went to the mall. You went to the toy store and you went to the arcade. So that's where I come from, right? Is I'm the generation that saw the video games at the mall die. And so I grew up with a much different sensibility of what a game is. Like if you guys are on my Discord server, which you should be if you're not, I just did a quick write-up for my experience with Final Fantasy II. And I mean actual Final Fantasy II, not the Super Nintendo game that's called Final Fantasy II that's really Final Fantasy IV. And Terry and I were talking about this earlier. It's like, yo, if Final Fantasy II had been 6 hours long, I would right now be writing a review called This game is a misunderstood masterpiece and everybody needs to stop hating on it. But because it went past that 7 hour mark, you start to see the flaws of the game, which is the leveling system is so unique that you have to have a lot of battles in order for it to work. The problem is the encounter rate when you are in dungeons is like, in some cases, every 2 steps you're in a fight, and the fights aren't fast. It's not like modern turn-based RPGs where it flows. Like I put all the commands in, and then I just have to sit here and wait for the people on screen to kill each other. And I'm fighting something. Like, by the way, I had leveled up. The reason why I loved Final Fantasy II is because you can game the leveling system. I love breaking games. You can game the leveling system. And I was invincible by the time I got halfway through the game. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through the game is where I quit. I was invincible. There's not a single dungeon I could go in, and really, unless one of the enemies could cast a spell that turns everybody to stone, which is another thing that sucks about Final Fantasy. They have orgasms over status ailments. It's the worst. Status ailments, right? Unless I run into one of those enemies that's, turns everybody to stone, nobody could really kill me, and most enemies couldn't even hurt me. I mean, I was 4-hitting some boss fights, which is fun for me. I put in a lot of work to make all my characters powerful, and I was running roughshod through dungeons, murdering everything, and I love that. The problem is the dungeons are mazes where the encounter rate it averages out to be about every 4 steps you're in a fight. Make a wrong turn in a dungeon and realize, I need to backtrack. And now I've been in 6 fights. Now I'm disoriented and don't know where I am in the maze. And I don't want to fight 700 more times just to get out of this stupid ass dungeon. Like I got stuck in one of the later dungeons where I was just like, I just don't want to do this. I don't want to run around in this stupid ass dungeon anymore. And so I'm looking at the map right now, guys, to figure out where I'm supposed to be going next. So bear with the young man here. All right, so I can get all the way back going that way. Can I get up to the? Oh, wait, how do you even get there? That's how. Okay. Can I do that now though? I wonder if the game would let me do that now. That's crazy. We're gonna try it. Oh no, I can't get up there. Never mind. I can't get up there till I have the ice beam. So let's go get the ice beam, which is what's next. Which is back where I just came from. So anyway, I came from a generation where games were not 70 hours long. And now we're literally living in a generation where kids complain that the games are less than 40 hours. What are you doing with your life that you got 40 hours to sit around? And however, I don't know how long it takes you to play a 40-hour game will take me months to finish, because I might only play for 30-45 minutes, maybe an hour a few nights before I go to bed. That's why I haven't, like I was playing Final Fantasy 2 on my PSP. Handheld games work the best for me because I can play in bed, especially these long-winded ass marathon games, which are just a pain in the ass to me. But like I was telling Terry earlier today, since 1993, and that 1997 is where I marked the year that video games basically started to die and started to become worse, because it's the year Final Fantasy 7 came out. And technically, I could say 96, Metal Gear is actually the culprit, not Final Fantasy 7, but Final Fantasy 7 took what Metal Gear did and just multiplied it by n to the FU power, right? Like, oh god, the damn cutscenes and talking would kill me in these games. Oh damn, I never remember that this guy is here, and I gotta get better at that. How do you have a perfect trajectory to where I am? Gotta focus, man. And anyway, like young people complaining that games aren't 40 hours long. I could probably name on one hand the amount of games that take longer than 40 hours to beat. Not that I spent more than 40 hours with. That's a different thing. I spent 300 hours with Tales of Vesperia over the course of 4 years to get every achievement in that game because I was having the time of my life. But games that take more than 40 hours to beat, I could probably count on 2 fingers the games that are that long that I actually like. Because I will contend until I can't talk no more that most video games, from a design perspective, they're designed to be longer than they are fun. And because I have a life that's not that boring, I think a lot of people go to video games more for boredom. I go to video games because I like the challenge, not because I'm bored. Like, I like the challenge of making myself stronger and overcoming the thing. And so does everybody else. I'm not unique, but you gotta be really bored to want to do something for 40 hours. I don't want to have sex for 40 hours. Not straight. Like, there's nothing on earth that's that fun that I want to do it for that damn long. Nothing. And so what it tells me is just the modern gamer is looking for something from designers that the old farts like me just don't want. And because, these people have to sell games, they have to cater to the people who are buying them. Which is, not necessarily, and I don't want to make it an age thing, because there's obviously dudes way older than me in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who play video games and stream, and they're in the time of their life. Fine. It's not me. Most of the games I play are boring as shit. And I was telling Terry, since 1993, probably 75% of the games I've played and finished, I've gotten to the end of it and been like, oh, thank God this game's over. Not, oh man, that was a great... Like, when I finished watching Samurai Champloo, I was like, man, I wish there was a movie so I could see what happens to these characters after everything's said and done. This was so good, I want to see more. That never happens with video games with me. By the time the game's over, even games that I like, a lot of times, it's, you know what, I'm glad this is done. Because I don't need to keep doing this shit. I'm glad this shit is over. And I remember the first game I had that experience with. You guys are going to be mad at me. The first game that did that to me was Final Fantasy 3. Which I did finish. It took me like 6 years to finish it because it was boring as shit. And it's all storytelling with all these characters that weren't interesting. And the opera scene that everybody freaks out about that I couldn't wait to fucking be over. Like, oh. Like, me and gamers don't get along in terms of our taste. And I totally respect that. I reviewed games for a very long time and got called racist names and got death threats because I didn't like a game somebody else liked. And, their life is shit, so their whole identity is fucking Zelda. And if you, say something bad about Zelda, it's like talking about his wife because he doesn't have any women in his... Like, dude, I can eat a dick and get a life. But, like... Literally 75% of the games I'm finishing, I started to realize I'm not enjoying this. I need to start not having this hobby. So there was a couple of years where I traded all of my video games back into the store. I kept a couple of my serious collectibles. One in particular, I'm really glad because I just got the game back in my collection, but I kept the art book, so it's a complete set. It's Suikoden 5. And that game will be worth... That's one of those RPGs that'll be like Snatcher on the Sega CD. Suikoden 5 will be that. It'll go up, I would bet, probably to about $300-400 when it's all said and done. But I traded all my games in. It was just like, I don't need to have this hobby anymore because most of the games that are coming out aren't games. They're just these really shitty movies that even the gameplay parts are not that fun to play. So for me, it's like I am getting to the point where the reason why I'm streaming Metroid is, well, let's go back to the past. Let's pull the angry video game nerd. Let's go back to the past and try to rekindle that love from back then. And to figure out what was it about these games I love so much. Because it can't just be nostalgia, right? There had to be something of quality here for me to want to stick around. And can I find, hopefully, because the more I see from modern games, the more I just see like, dude, I'm not at all incentivized or motivated to buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series Jackson or whatever. Is it the Xbox Action Jackson? What are they calling these systems? And who's in charge of naming them? Because you're all fired. Everybody that names video game systems is fired as hell. Because you suck at naming things. Why are you here? You know, and I'm obviously joking. Name your stuff to what you want to name it. Someone will get sensitive. I like the name of it. Okay, fine. No one cares. You liking it is just as absurd as me not liking it. Who gives a shit? Get your life together. What are you doing? Oh, wait a minute, damn it. Come on, where's the dude I need to come up here and help me? Get your ass up. Come on, come on. Ah, you gotta time this shit. Oh, for the Christ of all Jesus. Now let's just wait. So, yeah, I got to a point where I'm like, you know, video games, I'm alright. And a lot of modern video games, I don't think I've seen one single game be announced. I'm going to take some comments here in a second. That's why I'm pausing in this hallway. I don't think I've seen a single game coming out in the next couple of years that's like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to buy a system for that game. Because I feel like I've seen everything I need to see. The games are not going to stop being interactive, shittily written movies. And God love the writers, man. I'm not crapping on writers. It is never the writer's fault when the writing sucks. I don't think. I think it's always the publisher's fault. By trying to rush something out and then forcing somebody to slap some ham-fisted story on top of your shit game. That's too long. But yeah, I can't think of very many games that take a long time to beat that I enjoy. Because one of the things like Elder Scrolls gets a lot of criticism is why you can beat it in 4 hours. Thank Jesus I can beat this in 4 hours. Because I can beat it and then go do something else with my life. Why is that seen as a bad? Well, because I had to pay $60. Yeah, you paid $18 to go watch a shit movie for an hour and a half. What's the difference? The difference is your entitlement, right? And my entitlement. I'm not entitled though. Because I don't expect any game designers to acquiesce to the bullshit I'm talking about. Because you won't make any money. Like, don't listen to anything I'm saying if you want to get into making games. Because you won't make any money with this current the young people now. Don't listen to a word. That's why I stopped reviewing games. I'm like, who am I reviewing these games for? Because none of the people playing the games at the younger ages who are consuming all these reviews agree with any of the shit I'm gonna say. Like, I'm good. I'll let the Terry does it now. Terry's game reviewer. Get in there. It's all yours. You know. Anyway, let's take some comments, man. Because y'all been chatting it up since I've been rapping. All right. Let's take it. Actually, I need to take this headset off my head because, like I said, I had the Frankenstein. I'm using my original cartridge. There's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 5 devices making this stream work. And the hours I had to put in hooking them up and adjusting settings. Because, first of all, I'm going to say on the record, I think Elgato's products are not as good as they should be. They're probably the best on the market, but that's like saying, you know, Hitler wasn't as bad as, you know, Mussolini and Mao. True, not in terms of his body count, but he still kind of sucked, right? Elgato just drives me absolutely nuts, which is another reason, like, I don't think I need to, because first of all, if I do get into the new consoles, Xbox isn't going to fix their shit. They're never going to be able to stream on YouTube. And I don't feel like having to hook up a bunch of shit. So, like, if you guys notice, I switched back to streaming from my PlayStation because I can just stream from the PlayStation. I don't have to hook up all this bullshit. Anyway, let's get to the comments. Clem says, I hate that parry system in Metroid. Return of Samus is why it's still sitting in my... Yeah, I can't do it, man. Oh, you said Metroid Fusion. My bad. I was talking about Return of Samus. My bad, dude. I got my titles mixed up. I need to correct myself. I was shitting on Metroid Fusion. I meant to shit on Return of Samus. Forgive me, sir. Metroid Fusion I have not played, but I've heard is pretty dope. Metroid Return of Samus is hot garbage, and that's why I won't play Metroid Dread, because as soon as they did the E3, I was like, oh, we're getting a new Metroid, and then they showed the parry. I was like, fuck them. Fuck Nintendo. Like, just... Like, I love the Switch. It's probably going to go down as my favorite console from this previous generation, because it's the console that's going to get the most playtime out of me long term. I still think Sony killed it with the exclusives last generation. I don't think you could really beat them. But Switch gets the most playtime out of me. Actually, my Vita probably got the most playtime out of me in this last generation. But I'm playing a lot of older stuff. Anyway. Back to what you guys are talking about. Terry says, what's wrong with mindlessly shooting? Well, nothing if it only lasts an hour and a half. Or nothing if it's Castle Wolfenstein, going back to my childhood, playing that on one of my boys' dad's PCs, because back then, like, I remember I'm from the generation where if your parents gamed, you had the coolest parents on the block. And one of my boys' dads used to play video games. And that's how I played a lot of flight simulators. And I played Descent, is actually my first love of a first-person shooter. I hated that the remake got shit canned. That hurt my soul that the Descent remake got killed. Because I love Descent. I love that game. God, I put so many hours into Descent on the PC. It's out of control. But mindlessly shooting is fine. I just don't want to do it for 8 to 20 hours. Like Gears of War, I hate it. It's like, why am I still here? You know what I mean? Like, I can do Ghost Recon Wildlands because that's more of a tactical shooting semi-RPG than just a mindless shooter where I'm running around. Like, I can do mindless shooting. In fact, I told you guys I played Quake the other day. I loved Quake. That was the first time I really sat down to play Quake ever. Because I think I dabbled in the demo back when I was a kid when it first came out. And I thought it was weird and I didn't stick with it. But I was playing Quake the other day and I'm like, I'm going to stream Quake. This game's a lot of fun. But it needs to be short. Like, if that game's longer than 4 hours, I'm out. Like, I don't need to do this for 20 hours. There's nothing... I would just rather go to the gun range and shoot, is the point there, Terry. If it's got to be 20 hours long. Let's see. Terry says, I wish I was 14 again, with the exception of not having to go to school. Well, you could drop out of school, I guess, if you had a time machine. I'm sure they'd give you a pass if you showed up from the future. Let's see. Jolly says, I like the first two mostly because my brother wanted my help. Are you guys talking about Onimusha? I think is the game you guys started to bring up. I played Onimusha, I think was the first game I ever owned on a PlayStation 2. And I thought it was okay. I didn't like the tank controls, but I didn't hate the game. It was alright. Soul Blade. You're talking about the fighting game? That's my favorite fighting game of all time. Soul Blade. Hands down. I like it better than Soul Calibur because my favorite character's in it. And, well, I should not say anything because that's a spoiler. But my favorite character from the Soul Edge series is in the first game, Li Long. Soul Blade is the only fighting game I still really enjoy today. In fact, I bought it in my collection last year or 2 years ago. Let's see. What else do we have? Jolly D says mall arcades are back, but they are PC rooms now. Imagine, yeah, I've seen what you're talking about for sure. And you know, and overseas has had those gaming lounges for since the early 2000s. Overseas has had that shit. America's always behind when it comes to those types of experiences. I remember seeing PC gaming lounges in Germany back in the year 2000. That shit was going on. And Americans are always late to the party. Terry says, when me and the boys get together, we get a GameCube and we launch Kirby Air Ride immediately. I've never played... So GameCube is past my I remember I got a GameCube. My mom got me one for Christmas after I got home from combat. That was my Christmas gift. Because she bought me and my wife a GameCube and then bought us both, because you could hook up your Game Boy Advance SPs. She bought us both a Game Boy Advance SP and then a GameCube. And, you know, my wife and I played through Time Splitters together. That was fun. Co-op through Time Splitters was fun with the wife. I enjoyed that. Jolly says, yeah, it's the new thing. You may not have a good connection at home or you want to play with others. Gotcha. Big Burr says, people want to live in virtual worlds. I feel like I like the real world, man. I enjoy these virtual worlds for a little mini escape, to have a little fun, get a little challenge. Because, you know, I don't want to fight real Metroids. I'd probably die. But fighting virtual ones is fun. I just don't need to do it for... And I think you might be right. You might be onto something. Like, I don't think I deal with the level of mental and emotional anguish that a lot of people probably are using video games to get away from. When I was much younger, that was very true. And I don't even have to get that. Like, even in my 20s, I would binge video games. Because, like, Final Fantasy 13, I binged the hell out of that just to get the achievements. Because my life, I was having some tough sledding back in those days, man. Some hard shit going on. Jolly says, if I beat a game in 3 hours and I paid $70 for it, I don't consider it worth it. Yeah, so you're from a different generation, dude. I paid $75, $74.99 for Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo. When I got good at that game at level 7, I could beat it in about 21 minutes, tops. I don't give a shit about the time. Like, I would rather have that 3-hour experience, Jolly, and let it be fun than spend 40 hours playing these shit games that like, would you rather play a mediocre ass game for 40 hours or have the time of your life for 3 hours? And what I have found with you younger gamers is that you want the long mediocre game, which we're never going to be friends. Not, you know, obviously we could be friends, but we're never going to see eye to eye on that shit. Like, I will take 3 that's awesome over 40 and mediocre every time. And I think, honestly, you younger guys were conditioned to think like that. Because E3 and everything will talk, this game boasts 200 hours. And so because of marketing, and I keep programming your brain with that marketing bullshit, you eventually begin to believe, oh, well, it's 200 hours. That means quality. No. If I waterboard you for 200 fucking hours and charge you for it, are you going to say you got your money's worth and be like, hey, maybe don't torture me ever? It's like, I don't get it. I don't understand the fucking, I don't feel like I got my money's worth if the game is short. What if the game was awesome and it changed your life in 3 hours? It's like, oh God, like Bruce Lee took me 27 minutes to beat. It's still one of my favorite games of all time. And yes, it holds up beyond nostalgia. I played it recently. It's dope. Alright, let me get back to Metroid and then I'll come back to the rest of the comments. Woo! Ice beam, baby. Oh, yes! Haha! Can't hit me, sucker. Alright, where's my map at? I gotta make sure I'm going the right way. Okay, let's move the map. Thank God I got a super wide screen here. Okay, so we're going back to... We got the ice, which means now we can freeze the people up here, right? Where's the thing I need to freeze at? I thought it was this hallway. No, because that takes you to Mother Brain. I'm not trying to go there. Where is the joint where I need to go super high? Huh. Because I couldn't... Oh, duh. I was not supposed to come back this way. That's what we did wrong, Billy. We're going the wrong way! Alright, back to the comments. Let's see. Terry played 904 hours of Mountain Blade. You are a glutton for punishment. That game is so clunky. I can't even deal. Hey, Alyssa's in the house. What up, lady? Let's see. Terry says, that's what I said when I finished The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. Well, all those Legend of Heroes games are pain in the ass. They're slow and boring. I don't understand how those shits got sequels. Like, who's playing this and enjoying it? Bored people. It's like if I could send everybody to a war, video games would get better overnight. Because you guys wouldn't put up with this shit being as boring and long as it is. Because you would have had like the most hopped up adrenaline fun you could possibly have, and then this shit would be dull to you. You'd be like, I'm not doing this for 40 hours. Let's see. Let's see, games coming out for PS5 are $70 now. I'm never going to listen to gamers complaining about the fucking price of games. Never. Because I was paying $75 for shit in the 90s. Fuck y'all. Well, it costs too much. Fuck you. Like, the equivalent of what I paid in the 90s cutting grass, my whole summer savings went to one game. And you guys are complaining that your games are $70 now? I was paying $75 in 1992 or whenever Street Fighter came out. It's ridiculous. Hell, my Metal Gear game that's sitting here right next to me was $50. Get out of here. Never gonna hear gamers complaining about the price of games. And then have to also listen to them bitch about why the games aren't. Well, the games suck because the developers have to keep making them 90 hours long. And nobody can make something fun for that long. Unless they're Hideo Kojima is one of the only dudes that can make long-ass games actually be enjoyable and not derail into just mindless, repetitive shit after 20 or 30 hours. And by the way, Jolly, I'm not picking on you. I'm not saying you're complaining about it. I hijacked your comment for the purpose of me ranting. Let's see. Final Fantasy V is the best Final Fantasy game. It's, I think, the only one I've never played. I'm done with Fuck Final Fantasy. After Final Fantasy II, I've had enough of the whole formula. Fuck the status ailments. Final Fantasy can eat a dick. It can eat all the dicks. Me and that series are fucking done. Old mediocre ass game series that everybody loves because you're bored. No thank you. Terry says, once a gamer, always a gamer. You can't simply just quit. Well, then make me better games, Terry. If you don't want me to quit, make games I like. That's not hard. I don't want to quit playing games. I have to because they're annoying. Like, you saw what happened. Did you come to the Final Fantasy VII Remake stream? Fuck that game. I was like, if this is the future of video games, Chambers is tapping out now. No thank you. Let's see, Clem says, yeah, the parry probably is going to piss me off. Yeah, I'm not playing any, like, and I made a rule. If your game has parrying in it, it's not getting played. I'm too old and don't have enough neuroplasticity to hit the button at the right time. Fuck everybody that wants parrying in their games, and fuck the games that have parrying in them. Chambers is done. Thanks for trying. By the way, Nier Automata is one of the best video games I've ever played in my life. You can finish that one in about 18 hours. But, you know, you guys will probably complain that that's not long enough for the $60 it costs. And so we'll get 19 more fucking Far Cry 5s that are 400 hours long and tedious. So... And Terry, I don't even blame the publishers. I blame the gamers. We're getting shit games because you guys keep showing up and paying for shit. Like, the fact that Final Fantasy VII Remake did not make the fans of that series burn Square Enix to the ground, then that was what told me, okay, you guys you are okay with violently mediocre shit. And subjectively speaking, obviously, because if you look at all my favorite games, they're games that aren't even mediocre. They're games that everybody hates. But my point is, whether you liked Final Fantasy VII Remake or not, it is mediocre compared to how good it could have been. It's not even as good as the original game. The original old-ass game, I would go back and play that. I won't play that remake shit. Like, the fact that nobody even looked, oh, they were, like, it was fine. Like, why? Because the story was a little bit better? Yeah, oh, that's right. All of you play video games to watch fucking stories now. Because we're all passive and don't want to do things anymore. We want to watch other people do things. Like, we live in a world of Let's Plays, yo. Come on. Y'all are watching me play a video game instead of playing them yourself. Alright, enough of my bitching. Let's get positive. Boom. Terry says, I wish I had gamer parents. Now, mine were too old. Computers didn't even exist when my parents were born, so. Josh Quinn's in the house. What's up, Josh? Alyssa says, you don't like the real world. You would hop on a UFO in a heartbeat. Well, no, I mean, yeah, but we're talking relativity here, Alyssa. Yes, the real world annoys the shit out of me too, but I still like it better than these fake ass virtual worlds that suck. That's the point. Like the virtual worlds are just a shitty representation of the already. And by the way, I love Earth. Earth is amazing. I love my family. I have great neighbors. It's the internet that sucks. The real world is amazing. Like when you guys hear me bitch, it's because I'm on the internet. And the real world's amazing. Most of the time. It's the where everybody goes to be a kid, which is the internet, is what I can't deal with because everybody's fucking childish. Let's see. Big Burr says, I feel that, man. Real world's the best. Some people are just so disillusioned with their own realities. Yeah, and I've been there. I can empathize with the person that's having a rough go and wants to escape. I can totally relate. I just thankfully have gotten to a better place now. Terry says, I'll never be a Viking warrior in Mountain Blade. But in Mountain Blade Warband Viking Conquest, I can be. Yeah, you can be. With really clunky ass controls. I'd rather try to be a real Viking than play that freaking game. Dagnabbit. Let's see. Terry or Jolly. Dagnabbit YouTube. I was reading. Jolly says, if I pay $70 for a game, I do want replay value. Back in the day, God of War was a 20-hour game, which is too fucking long for what that game is, but I digress. Money well spent. Also, games in those days. So, if God of War existed in my childhood, it would have been about 5 hours, and I would have loved it. 20 hours is too goddamn long for what those games are. It's just like, I don't need this to be this long. It doesn't need it. Like, I've killed all the shit. Let's get to the credits so I can play the next game. Or, go hang out with my kids. Although God of War on PlayStation 4 was dope. So, exception to the rule. There are exceptions to the rule, of course. And these rules are just mine. This is my dumbass subjective world that I live in. Doesn't mean anything I'm saying is right. Games had high replay value. And I don't really give a shit about replay value. I have over 1,000 games in my collection that I'm still trying to get through. I don't like, if I'm replaying a game, it's because something else I have sucks, which is bad news. It's never good news if I'm replaying. Like, the fact that I am replaying Metroid tonight is bad news. It means I tried a lot of other games and they suck so bad that I'm just like, I'm just going to go to a game I know I like because I can't do this anymore. Whoop! Ah! Dang it. My muscle memory is off with this game, bruh. I gotta get back in my skills. There you are. Oh! Dang it. I walked right. I am rusty. Metroid rusty, dog. Rusty? Time out. Tell you what, the controls on this game are hot buttered gravy biscuits, boy. Oof. Sexually delicious is what these controls are. You ever tasted anything that's sexually delicious? Oh, for the love of Jesus. Woo! Get there. Oh, you whore. Platformy shits for the birds. You're gonna block my... Alright, this is the part of Metroid I don't like is this timed... I don't like platformers that much. I endure Metroid being a platformer because they keep the platforming bullshit to a minimum. But... oh, you know what? I still need the high jump boost to get up there. Never mind. I don't know why I thought I could do that. Alright, back to the map. Where are we going? Where are we going? I know we're going back west. Got the ice beam already. What's down yonder? Nothing. Just a big empty. Ah, we can't already be going to Ridley's joint, can we? Am I already at Ridley's? That doesn't seem right. Yeah, because that's where the high jump boots are. Jeez. Blazing through this game, baby. Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat had high replay value. Yeah, I'll give you that. But even if they didn't, I'm good. Bruce Lee cost me $50. 27 minutes to beat it, baby. And if I'd never played it again, I'm cool. I could play Summer Games, or I could play Hunchback, or I could play Up and Down. I could play tons of other games. Jolly says, I hate most modern games because they don't live up to the hype. I certainly agree with you on that one, brother. Or they are filled with shit missions. Yeah, a lot of just filler nonsense. Terry says, also because of video games, we get to taste numerous experiences. We can be a race car driver 1 minute or a swordman the next. Okay, yeah, I'll buy that. It's good stuff. Jolly says, I'm in the middle. I'm picky with games now. I can dig it. Just wait till you get old. You'll hate all the games by the time you get to be my age. Let's see. Gabriel Programmer says, hi, Bryant. I used to watch you back in the day. Are you back making videos for a while? Nice to hear from you, man. Cheers. Yeah, I've been making... I never stopped. You know? I've still been around. You probably just didn't follow me to all the different places where I made stuff. Like, I've had a podcast going for years. I had this YouTube channel and then had two other ones. Or actually, I had one before this, then this one, and then two other ones that I started as offshoots. That were cool for a while. They lasted. And then I went and got TikTok famous and then pretty much stopped doing TikTok stuff or whatever. And here we are, man. Chilling. But it's good to see you, man. Terry says, and you don't even have to lose a large portion of your life. Yeah. Alyssa says, newsflash, everyone. You can be whatever you want in the real world, too. You often don't want to put in the work to become it. Yes. Which is why I say video games in moderation. Like, I love having a little mini escape into these games, and then enough's enough. At some point, I want to go actually get laid. Not watch a sex cutscene in Mass Effect. You know, like, come on. Let's see, Terry says, oh, you played the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, Bryant? So I don't know if it was Trails in the Sky. No, I played all the PSP Legend of Heroes games. I never got around to playing the new ones because the old ones were so bad. So no, I think you warned me not to play that crap. So I avoided it. Terry, Jolly said if you got sent to war, he wouldn't give a shit about anything. Yeah, I don't. And it's honestly why I don't have patience with people or Earth. It's like I've seen so much death that I know life is so short that I just don't have the patience for everybody's fucking feelings. I just don't. Like, there's obviously balance to that because people's feelings matter. But how much do they fucking matter? Like, come on, guys. You're dying in the next probably 80 years. Go make something of yourself. Like, get over the fucking feelings and go make something of yourself. Because, by the way, your feelings will change when you start doing shit that matters. And when you start showing up and doing what you're supposed to do, you actually feel good about it. It's like somebody asked me on a live stream, Bryant, I suck at self-esteem. How do I build self-esteem? Do esteemable shit. And then you'll have esteem for yourself. Like, it's... What high school did y'all go to where you didn't learn this shit? Like, have we not been playing on the same planet together? I don't know what's happening anymore. Josh Quinn says, oh, Legend of Heroes. I have heard good things about those. Now, you didn't hear it from me. I've never said anything positive about that series. Pistachios in the house. What's up, homie? Oh, man. Don't worry. We're going to get back to the game here in a second, guys. I'm just trying to keep up with this fantastic conversation we're having. Legend of Heroes is a series for people who want to experience monotony. For 60 hours. Yes, that's exactly how I describe it. And what I'm learning about Japanese role-playing game fans is you guys love monotony. It's like I don't know if it's your life is boring or if like doing the same task over and over again. I know it activates a part of the brain that kind of makes you tune out. So I guess technically that could quell anxiety to a degree, like just focusing on doing the same, like kind of like having a mantra if you do meditation and shit. So I get it, like random encounters and like that old school tedium could be like a mantra type thing. I just don't. Uh, I don't have the what's it called? Like I guess I don't have the things going on in my life that need um, to like to need that to escape from it. You know what I mean? Like, and especially because I know how to biologically deal with things like anxiety, right? To where I don't necessarily have to use drugs. I've certainly been treated for anxiety and depression with antidepressants. Thankfully, I don't have to use them anymore. Uh, but I know both sides of it. But I don't know. I don't know any of that to be true. It's me speculating, saying maybe the person who I find this very tedious and boring, but for them that repetitious thing may be what's breaking them out of their current mental or emotional challenge that they're having, right? And like I've been emotionally challenged to the point of being wanting to die, right? And having suicidal ideations in my life and having to be treated for that. So I'm not unempathetic to psychosis and things that people deal with. It's just like when you get on the other side of it and you see the work you have to put in to properly deal with it, it's like, okay, it's one thing to be very sympathetic to people, but I think sympathy is an overused emotion. What you need is empathy and the drive to go actually help people push beyond their pain so that they can actually start to have a decent life. But most people don't, like Alyssa was saying this earlier. A lot of people, you can be what you want in life. You're just not willing to push through the pain. I shot a video that I was going to do on TikTok and then I just didn't because frankly, I didn't feel like putting in the work for a video that no one was probably going to watch because it would only resonate with a very specific type of person. I was watching the Olympic trials and there's a lady named, what was her last name? Her first name's Abby. But she ran like the 800 or the 2 she ran something where you could see she won, but the look on her face was like she was trying to give birth while she was running. It looked like she was dying, and I was like, that is the face of a champion. That is what you have to be willing to go through to be the best at what you do. If you have a dream where you want to make a lot of money or another thing, you better get used to making that face, because pain is the catalyst that gets you to where you want to go. Not sympathy, not goddamn compassion and all this softer side of Sears shit that everybody's trying to put on you that's taking your resilience away, which is the very thing you need to push through your pain. It's like, yeah, compassion. I will come get you if you've been lit on fire, get you, put the fire out and get you treated. Once we get you treated, get your ass up and let's get to work. Like there's a point where compassion stops being effective and you've got to actually kick into gear and start doing the work. Let's see. Anyway. No worries. Jolly says, no worries, I ain't a bitch. I know you're not targeting me. Even if I was, you ain't no bitch, so. You ain't no bitch and I ain't no teddy bear, huh? Oh, God, you guys cracked me up with that one. Big Burr says, Final Fantasy IX is a masterpiece with... Oh, I'm sorry, Big Burr. I hate Final Fantasy IX. That game bored me to sleep. But I will extend you an olive branch. You just said it's a masterpiece with a great commentary. You probably enjoyed the story. So no, I can't say anything negative about the story. It didn't interest me, but I won't say it was bad. It's just a lot of role-playing games are too childish for me. Like, childish isn't right. They're too whimsical and not tied to anything that I can personally relate to. Like, it's too cutesy. And not that I don't play, like, cutesy. There's cutesy games that are fantastic. It's just Final Fantasy doesn't... 9, for whatever reason, just bored the shit out of me, and I couldn't get into it. And I think I got to the second disc when I tried to play through it back in the day, and I just couldn't, like, because everyone kept telling me, B, Final Fantasy 9 is the best one. I'm like, all right. And then I played it, and was like, this is boring as shit, just like all the other ones, except 10. 10, I think, is the one I'll end up saying is the best Final Fantasy I've played. It's not my favorite, but it's probably pound for pound the best Final Fantasy game I've played. Like, if I go back and play any Final Fantasy, it'll be that one. Because it'll be the one that I know won't... Well, and there is a part of that game where a lot of the stuff I hate does start to happen. So maybe I didn't get far enough into it during my last playthrough. But anywho, but yeah, I respect. A lot of people love Final Fantasy IX. I do want to give merit to the people that love it. I think there is a lot of quality there. It's just not a game that really suited me that well. Terry says he hates the main character on Final. That's Zindane, right? Am I saying that right? Zindane, something like that. Jolly says I don't mind paying $7 or more, but the game has to be good. Yeah, dude, we're in the same boat. And Terry, I was totally using your comment to piggyback. I know you weren't talking about what I was saying. I just took advantage of the situation to make a point. But yeah, no, I feel you. I'll pay. Like I've been saying for years, I wish publishers would just be honest with us and be like, hey, listen, we're selling this shit for $120. But if you want to buy it in pieces, you can start at 60, right? And then what I would say, like, just give me the whole game. Don't break it up into DLC and then lie and say, oh, the development cycle, fuck you. You could have put it all in there. You broke it up so you can make more money. Just be honest about that shit, okay? And then, when you're honest about it, which you can't be, because I get it, the fucking gaming, the people in the games, consumers would lose their shit if you were honest with them about that. There's no way to win because you're dealing with customers who are entitled as fuck. I get it, but it's like, dude, just give me the $120 game so I don't have to download 19 packs and all this other bullshit. When I play a game, I want to sit down and finish it. I don't want to play it for the next 6 years when you keep releasing. And I've never played a game where I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the DLC to come out. Never has DLC added shit to a game for me that needed to be there. Never. Not, at least not that I can remember. Like, get out of here with that shit. Just give me the whole game. Charge me the $120 so I can get out of the store and not have to keep giving you money over the next year. But that'll never happen because I am not the typical gaming consumer, right? They have to make the products that the consumers are willing and able to buy. And most people probably aren't going to be like, yeah, even though they will end up spending $200 on the game after they buy all this stupid shit for it, they won't spend the $120 up front. And I'm just like, can you give us an option? Like, hey, we're going to release the whole game for $120, but if you want to get in at the starter pack, it's $60. I mean, PC games do that all the time, where pre-release, it's like, hey, you can buy this pack or this pack. Like, here's the full game, but if you just want to play the base game and wait, like, give us options, man. And that's why I've stopped buying most games at launch. I'm like, dude, just wait until the definitive edition comes out and has all the shit in it. And then you'll probably get the definitive edition for 10 or 15 bucks cheaper than the original anyway. Like I just saw Greedfall is selling for $12, which it should be. That game is absolute horse anus. And by the way, I only got to the tutorial and was done. Was like, this is not going to work. And I like Spiders games. What happened to them? Mars Warlogs was alright. Tech Romancer was alright. Was it Tech Romancer or was it the other one? Those games are alright. And then Greedfall. Ugh. And of course it has a parry system because you can't have an RPG with swords without a parry system because I don't know why, but whatever. Let's see. Harley says, if it's not 400 hours and 95% of that is unimportant mini games, then I don't want anything to do with it. Well, play Final Fantasy VII then. And do dumb shit like chocobo racing. Ugh. Sorry. I don't understand what people think is fun from, like, the generation of gamers that grew up with Final Fantasy VII as their piece de resistance of their childhood, we're just from two different planets. The shit you find fun is beyond me. Like, I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. I had The Simpsons, the arcade game. I had Final Fight. Right? Like, why? Why does chocobo racing exist? Terry says, gaming has been a train wreck for a while. And it's sad because in the same breath that I'll crap on all these games, Masterpieces come out every year that go unplayed. Did anybody here play the aquatic adventure of the last human? Did anybody take my advice and go play that game? If you didn't, please go do that. Please go play the aquatic adventure of the last human. You'll love the story, which isn't intrusive. It's built into the gameplay and it's awesome. The Metroidvania kind of aspect, but better in a way. Like, it's a masterpiece and nobody's playing it. Nobody. You know, Nier Automata was a masterpiece. A lot of people didn't get it because it's Robotron. It's too much of a game. That's why Nier Automata was kind of under the radar. Because it's a game. It's not an epic bullshit story that has gameplay peppered into it, right? There you go. And so there's so many amazing games. Elix, as broken as Piranha Bytes games are, Elix is a ton of fun if you can get past getting your ass beat for it. Because the game beats the shit out of you to teach you, hey, you can't just come into this world and start swinging swords at people. You're gonna because the whole plot of the game is all your powers were taken from you and you got to build that stuff back up. If you just go into the world and start swinging on people, they'll put a grenade in your mouth, right? But once you get past that initial ass beating and start to get your powers back, then you can, I'm going head to head with mechs that look like Voltron. What other video game gives me a jetpack, a sword, a laser gun, and a grenade launcher against mechs in an RPG? Name it. Name another RPG that does that. None of them. It's genius. And nobody cared because it's not as polished as fucking Skyrim. Old vapid ass vanilla game. Ugh. And I like Elder Scrolls, by the way. I'm not just I liked Skyrim the first time I played it, but it's because there wasn't anything better at the time, I guess. I don't know. I didn't like it better than Oblivion, though. And then I liked Oblivion less than Morrowind. But what are we going to do? Tristan, this is a funny question. Because I answered this, but I think you came in late. He said, random question, did you ever play Gears of War? What did you think? I hated Gears of War. The controls suck. I hate that over-the-shoulder camera. And that's about it. Now, here's the one thing I loved about Gears of War. Only took 4 hours to finish it. I was cheering when that game ended. Yes! Oh, thank you, Jesus. And I was co-oping it with one of my best friends, and he was pissed. Oh, man. I was like, no, this is just... Thank you, Jesus. 4 hours and in the books. Hallelujah. Nothing but love. So yeah, gaming does have its train wrecks, but then God of War got made. Wow. And I love Cory Barlog anyway, man. Cory Barlog gets it, right? And then Hugo from Bethesda. There's guys in the industry who are killing, man. God of War was dope. I don't like the gameplay style of Horizon Zero Dawn, but what a fantastic game. I can objectively say I don't love Horizon Zero Dawn's gameplay, but it is a fantastic game that people should play. And if you can like that type of stealthy Metal Gear bullshit, if you like that, play Horizon Zero Dawn. It's the single best lead character in a game from the last generation. Not even close. Aloy's the best lead character probably for me since Yuri from Yuri and Raven kind of tie in Tales of Vesperia. Because if you've ever played Tales of Vesperia, if you want to ever know my personality, I am Yuri and Raven mixed from Tales of Vesperia. Those guys are exactly my personality. If you mesh them together. Boo. Let's see. Terry says, my issue with games costing more nowadays is that I'm not getting my money's worth because the games are worse. Well, and so worse, as you know, I'm not saying anything you don't know, is subjective, right? And what's worse? Because I can honestly say, the fact that the games are longer isn't inherently bad, right? I like shorter games, but the reason why I like shorter games is because most really long games run out of fun before they're over for me. But for someone who's still having a good time, I respect that they like longer games. I get it. If you like 40-hour games and you're having fun, I want you to have your fun. I want everybody in the games world to be happy. I don't want them to just start making the stuff I like, because then the industry would suck. There'd be no diversity. There should be different opinions than mine. Right? I just wish there were more games that did cater to me, but they don't because I'm a relic. Man, they're not making games for old farts like me anymore. They're making them for y'all. So, and I mean, some of y'all are older than me, so I'm not, everyone here doesn't fall into that. But what else do we have? Big Burr says, I've never understood how people can sink their life into MMOs. The social aspect is one thing, but I never wanted to do the mindless grinding. So it's the social aspect. It's 100% the social. The grinding is something you endure because you're hanging out with your friends. And that's it. Like my first online gaming experience was over a dial-up modem on a 386 computer or no, it might have been my first Pentium. Might have been the first Pentium computer at my mom and dad's house, and it was Duke Nukem 3D, and it was a pain in the ass to set up. But me and my best friend would play that game till 3 in the morning, and just doing the same mission, shooting rockets at each other, and it was a blast. I don't have that much fun doing that now because I've kind of been there and done that, but at the time it was great. So I get the social aspect of MMOs. I would endure the grind if I enjoy it. Like, I'm older now. I have a family. So I get all the social interaction I need right here in my house. Like, one of the reasons why I'm so impatient on the internet is because my kids, rather, I'm around kids all the time. And most, even adults on the internet, are more childlike than they are in the real world. So it's like I'm exhausted at home because I have to babysit kids, and then I come on the internet, and then depending on what I'm doing, obviously what I'm saying doesn't exist on these YouTube streams, but like a lot of stuff I used to do on TikTok, it was like managing a preschool, trying to have a conversation at times with just but I'm way more popular there. So when you have 1,000 people in a room, you can expect some of them are going to be idiots. But it's more fun to have these more intimate, because in fact, like, as if my personal brand continues to get exposure and more people start showing up, I'll eventually make these streams private, and then you'll have to be on the Discord server to know when we're streaming so you can get access to it, because I won't open it to the public, because I don't want this to grow past these intimate hangouts, because I love hanging out with you guys, man. These streams are cool where, I get to have some philosophical discussion. A lot of you will come in and ask. A lot of you guys are people that I mentor, so it's like, hey, we can talk. This is another opportunity for us to hang. This show is kind of an extension of my podcast, right? So this is fun, but I don't want this to be, I don't want to start streaming to 2,000 people, because there's just no way for that to be all the people you like hanging out with. At least not in my experience. Maybe other people have that, but the more intimate crowds, and in fact, like, even when I was a musician, playing for smaller audiences was always more fun than, like, because I've played for thousands of people in bands, and then I've played for 100, and playing for 100 is always more fun. Let's see. Terry says, but I can't see myself playing many modern games in the future. I'm too busy getting through the classic. And that's kind of you and me, because you and I were talking about this for the last couple of days, and that's what this stream is. Even though I'm not really streaming at this point, I'm just sitting here making you watch the Metroid screen. But guys, you've been here. You've been on my streams long enough to know this is how this goes. But like, I'm just like, screw it. Why keep experimenting with new games? And going to your point, Terry, why would you and I keep experimenting with new games when we know what's going to happen? I can already tell you what's going to happen with Tales of Arise. It's going to be violently mediocre, probably, just like Berseria and Zestiria were degraded from Vesperia. And it'll be like, I saw Happy Console Gamer, so I love him, by the way. Great dude. Or at least, great. I like his spirit, man. He's got a real sweet spirit the way he makes content. But he was talking about, he did like a quick little impressions, and his video was really weird to me because he really said nothing. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, this video seems uncomfortable for him. Like, is this a paid placement for him to talk about the game? Which, if it is, fine. I'm not against people making money on their channels, man. Go nuts. And he didn't say anything where I think it was like, if it was a paid placement where he misled anybody. I mean, he was playing the demo, for Christ's sake. Well, what can you say in a demo? But he didn't really say anything. He kept talking about how great it looked, and that he had this feeling it was going to be a great game. But watching the gameplay, I didn't get that impression. I was just like, This doesn't look like it's going to be any better than any of the other ones to me. You know, so why continue to experiment with things that when I kind of know, even if Tales of Arise is good, it's probably not going to be amazing to me. So why? Why don't I just go back and play Metroid again? Why don't I rebeat Metal Gear? One of the games I want to hang with you guys on tonight, and maybe we'll just do it since we're here. Should we? Yeah, hold on. Oh, you know what? I can't because I need to get the password for Metroid, so we'll hold off on that. But the game I was thinking about streaming tonight is a game called Lagoon for the Super Nintendo. It gets panned by a lot of the reviewers because it's a Zelda clone and your sword is too small. I'm like, yeah, but the sword is small to teach you how to do the combat system, which actually requires skill. Unlike other video games where they just handicap you and it takes forever to kill a monster, you actually have to be able to maneuver around monsters and fight well in this game. It's one of my favorite games from the Super Nintendo, and a lot of people hated it. Like when I first started seeing reviews for it on YouTube, because I mean this game was made in what, 1991, 92 or something. And when I started seeing YouTube reviews from the younger crowd, it's like, this game sucks. I was like, what? I loved that game. And the soundtrack for Lagoon, top 10 video game soundtrack of all time. It's in my top 10. It's that good. Like, it's Chrono Cross, Castlevania 4, good. Straight up. All right, I'm going to try to get through these comments, and then we'll play some more. But yeah, I'm with you, Terry. Like, why would we continue to experiment when I've seen this movie enough times to know 99% of the games I play that are new are going to be mediocre. You know, out of that 99, a good handful of them are going to completely piss me off. And then there'll be maybe one game. There's usually 3 games every generation that I really, really love. So last generation, it would be Nier Automata, Elix, and then like there's a couple of offshoot games like Axiom Verge, fantastic. The Aquatic Adventure of the Last Human is a masterpiece. Lumini was really good. What else from last generation? So that's 5. Did I say God of War? God of War would be up there with it. I can't put Horizon Zero Dawn in my personal list because I don't love it, but I do respect that game is really, really good. Why do we need to experiment? I've seen the movie. Like, the designers are going to keep making the games long. They're going to keep telling shit stories that aren't that interesting that I have to sit through, kind of like what we're doing now, ironically, etc. So yeah, like I could just go back into my old library, play Metroid, play Metal Gear, play Lagoon, and Terry, you've been recommending great games for me to try. I got to find this Painkiller thing, man. In fact, I was just ordering Ys Origin on the Switch tonight, the import from Japan, and then like I'm going to get Ys 9 before it sells out. And I'm probably going to stream Ys 8, which is a fantastic game. It's hard to stick with it because it gets a little, like the progression, the pacing is a little off, but what the game is for Ys is really, really, like Ys 8 might be the best Ys game I've played. And I've played 3, was my original favorite, even though it's terrible. That game has really got issues. It's not terrible, but it has issues. I played Ys 6 on the PlayStation 2. It was at Ark and Nepishtim, which I hate that I traded in because now I don't have it anymore. I just bought Memories of Celceta, which is, I think, a remake of 3. Anyway, Ys 8 was easily the best Ys game I'd ever played. So I'd love to get back to that. Terry says, we're all picky here. I adore Painkiller. Yeah, I got to get Painkiller. I'm going to play it, man. Most first-person shooter games piss off Terry. I agree with you on that. They don't piss me off. I just get bored with them. Like a lot of my friends love Call of Duty. Yo, B, no. I don't want to play the campaign. Well, actually, that's not true. Campaign is the only thing I like about Call of Duty. The multiplayer is not my thing. Jolly says, yeah, you almost died from COVID not too long ago. You made your peace with God, but ended up pulling through. I don't care about a fraction of the shit I used to. Yeah, trauma. And this is what I always tell people. Trauma doesn't change you. It just makes you focus on the shit that actually matters. So when you send a person like you to COVID that almost kills you, when you come back, because that's like going to war. When you come back from that, fuck everything that's not about you making the life you want to have. Like, you just don't, you lose patience for everybody's bullshit. Like, what are we all upset about? You know, like, if I were actually angry about these games being like this, I would tell myself, get over yourself, shitbag. Like, it's a game. You know, I just like coming on here and chatting about this shit because it's interesting, but I'm not actually mad. Like, if I buy a shitty, like, Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think it sucks anal beads out of a, you know, right out of a donkey's ass, but it's fine. I don't have to keep playing it. I just turn it off. And I'm actually holding the case for it right here. You hear that? Here you go. A little ASMR for you. There you go. Boom. Just put it right on the desk and it's over. I don't have to be mad about it. So yeah, I don't know that games really piss me off. I just get bored. But yeah, Terry, yeah. When you go through trauma, it teaches you what to actually care about. He said sentimentality is pretty much out the window. Yes. Going through severe trauma does, at least in the experience I've seen and with a lot of people I work with, it does make you a bit colder. And so I get around people who haven't seen trauma like you have, and they're very entitled. They're very emotionally entitled. Like, you have to not say these words because they hurt my feelings. Why don't you just go the fuck away? Like, leave. Like, one of my favorite scenes in a movie is Eddie Murphy in Vampire in Brooklyn when he walks in the church because he's pretending to be the preacher, but he's really a vampire. He walks in the church and he starts catching on fire and he goes, God damn! It's one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen. I promise you, there were church people that wrote letters to the studio complaining that, like, go fuck yourself. Like, do you really think the creator of everything in the universe, if he exists the way you think he does, is up in heaven? Like, did you see what Eddie did? Oh my God, we got to get him. We got to burn his ass in hell, Jesus. He said, God damn. Do you know we don't speak English in heaven, you shitbags? Like, it's silly. Like, you have a charmed life. A fucking charmed life if that's what you're angry about. Like, go experience some trauma so you can care about shit that matters. Like, I'm almost of the mind that I think everybody needs to go through a manageable level of trauma because it shapes you in a way that then makes you successful. I don't know any super successful people that haven't had their soul ripped out of their chest at some point because that shit makes you strong, you know? So, and that's part of the reason why you're winning, Jolly. You're out there getting them punches in the face and recovering from them and getting back up off the mat. And then you realize, damn, this game isn't really as hard as everybody makes it out to be. Like, everybody that has a shit life, you know, it isn't their fault that their life was shit, but it's like, if you're still there, it's kind of your fault because there's so many opportunities to fix it and get better and get people to help you who will get you out of it. So if you're sitting around talking about how bad your life is and all these other people that are privileged beyond you, why don't you go hang out with some of the privileged people? Because we'll help you. Like, the fact that I've had some of the privilege I've had in my life is why I try to give so much to people. I try to give back. Because not everybody got to have my dad. Right? So I try to give what my dad gave to me to other people. Because you didn't get him. You guys were not lucky enough to have my father. So I see that as privilege. And it's like, yo, I should take that privilege and make life better for someone else. Why not? Right? So that shit makes you strong, dude. And I think you're stronger for it. And I'm sad that you went through COVID. I wouldn't wish that. I would not wish that to be the trauma you went through. You know, but you're better for it. So all things work together for the good of those that love God. Isn't that what the scripture says? I think that's what it says. Terry says, to be honest, giving up on his dreams kind of felt liberating because instead of focusing on what could be, I got to... Yeah, but did you really give up on your dream, or did you realize that the dream you have wasn't your real dream? You know, a lot of the mentoring that I give people, and there's really good books on that. Like, a lot of people think they're chasing their dream, and then they realize this isn't... Like, if you're not getting there, there's a good chance it's not really your dream. And your brain is subconsciously trying to get you into a different direction. Right? Like, you are living your dream. You're making content about video games and you're getting to work a job that you don't love, but it isn't, you know, it isn't, at least from what you've told me, it's not particularly hard for you, and it gives you the room to build the life that you want. Dude, that is the dream. like that. And that's why I think it's liberating for you, because you realize when we talk about our dreams, it's our own ego that paints, oh, I need to be a billionaire and I need to own 75 businesses. Like when I started to get more and more successful, I realized all of these dreams that I hear people who are not happy and unsuccessful dream about, it's like, you don't really know what you're dreaming for. Because if you had to live through some of the shit that I've running businesses that I've had to do, you wouldn't want a business. You'd probably rather go do something else. Right? So it's like a lot of time when I'm with people, their dreams are just their ego. It's not like my dreams. If you look at my first couple of dreams, it was all ego. Why did I want to be a professional football player? Because I didn't have enough self-love, and it was something I was really good at that people loved me for. So I wanted to keep doing the thing that people kept praising me for. Because I wasn't good at school. I knew that ship had sailed. Right? So it's like, and girls liked me because I played football. And that's why I'm not a professional football player today, because that was all. I didn't love the game of football so much that I mean, I did love it, don't get me wrong. I went hard in the paint. But you realize the dream in that case is just ego. And now, like Terry, you're one of the most free people I know. And I would encourage people in our community to look up to a lot of the shit that you've accomplished. Because you're very practical in the way you approach things, which gives you a ton of happiness, joy, and peace that I think a lot of other people never get to experience, because they're egotistically chasing something that's not for them and then disappointed that they're not getting it. I love what you said there, man. I just wanted to take time to praise you for that comment. I think that's powerful. And Terry says, yes, I think it's Zendane. I hate him for what he does. And okay, so I never got to disc 3, so I didn't get to see him being terrible. Let's see, Big Bird says, fair play to you for the thoughts on 9. I played it when I was like 13 or 14. Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, man. I'm sitting here telling y'all Metroid is the best thing that ever happened. I mean, dude, this is a side-scrolling shooter. It's not, there's nothing inherently special about this game. But because I played it when I was, how old was I by the time I played this? Because I didn't play this game when it was new because my parents didn't buy me a Nintendo until years after it came out. I think I was 9, maybe 10 when I played this. Yeah, of course. You know, I'm with you, brother. If I had played Final Fantasy VII when I was 13, I'd probably be sweating the balls of the remake too. Because I'll tell you one thing about this remake. Let me be balanced. The visuals and the soundtrack. The song that plays as the main background music for Final Fantasy VII is still stuck in my head. That is such a beautiful song. And it's so, because, you know, I played Final Fantasy VII kind of in my adolescence and childhood. I was a little bit older than you guys probably were. But I still think I was in my teens the first time I played it. I didn't beat it till I was in my 20s. But I played it when it first came out. And was like, this is pretty nostalgic. I never really got into it because I just sucked at it. And I didn't really understand how to make the materia system work. And I, didn't have the patience. But eventually I figured it out. But see, he says 13, 14, so childishness was part of its charm these days. Yeah, of course. And I would say childlikeness. I try to be careful with those words, because when I say childish, that sounds condescending, like I'm speaking down to a child. And I don't mean that. It's more like it's childlike. And it's not that childlike stuff doesn't work, because I'm trying to think. There's a cutesy game I played recently, and I loved every minute of it. Sakuna, the of rice and something, is a real cutesy game, but it's fun. So it's not that I can't deal with whimsy. I don't think the story really got me bad with Final Fantasy IX. I just think the gameplay didn't hook me, and that's why and the story wasn't interesting enough for me to be tied to it. But like, one of my favorite role-playing games of all time is Star Ocean: The Second Story. That game's not really childlike, but you're playing as young people. And so there is a whimsy to it. And the soundtrack is absolutely gorgeous and nostalgic. So I totally can relate to why you love the game, man. Terry says, but yeah, that's maybe why I'm a blue pill guy. And honestly, I don't think you're a blue pill guy at all, Terry. Not at all. I think you are seeing other people chase their ego and calling it their dreams. And you're one of the people who actually figured out your dream. You didn't choose the blue pill at all. You chose the red pill. And the red pill is simply being honest with yourself. That's all it means. Can you be honest with yourself? And you've always been honest and said, yo, I don't need to have crazy dreams and ambitions. I want to do shit that may seem small to other people, but it means the world to me. And to me, Terry, You are one of the people who's living the dream even more than some of the people whom I'm actively mentoring, because your head is in the right space. So and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just a different perspective. I wouldn't necessarily call that blue pill, man. I think you are the definition of the fucking red pill, to be honest with you, because there's no pretense in what you're doing, and it's honest. And I think that's red pill as shit. Let's see. Terry says, I don't think I'll ever play Elix. Well, if you didn't like Risen, don't play Elix. Like, or Risen's not a fair comparison, because Elix is so much more than that. I can't really compare Elix to anything. But if you didn't like Piranha Bytes games, then yeah, don't. Like, I'll tell you what, if you played Arcania and you dug it even a little bit, you definitely will like Elix. If you hated Arcania, Elix is a better game, more polished, more things to do. You get a jetpack and you can fight mechs, robots, and monsters. But it's still the same kind of taste. And even though I need to be fair, Arcania was not made by Piranha Bytes, but it's still the same kind of type of game. See, Big Bird says, so definitely nostalgia is like 35% of my opinion, right? Yeah, yeah, all of us are like that. I mean, I was getting ready to play Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear tonight. And, outside of nostalgia, I can admit that this game is an obtuse mess. Like, the shit that I complain about in Zelda is totally present in this game. This is just a game I was able to figure out, and therefore don't hate it as much. Which, I love Zelda 2, which I might be playing on this channel to show you guys why Zelda Link, The Adventure of Link, Zelda 2, is the best Zelda game. I think, bar none, that is the best Zelda game. But I'm sure there's quite a few Ocarina of Time fans, or I guess you guys call it Ocarina of Time fans that have something to say about that. Let's see, Josh says, I'm not heard of the aquatic adventure of the last human, but I'm interested in trying out Nier Automata. Yes. Nier Automata is imagine if Devil May Cry wasn't annoying with the combat and having to learn a bunch of stupid combos that are overly complex. Like just the fun parts of Devil May Cry mixed with spaceship shooters levels and then Robotron. Because you get swords and like a gun that can constantly shoot. If you love Robotron, which I do, Robotron's one of my favorite games from back in my childhood. In fact, I think Robotron's older than me. I think that game was born before I was, the original. But it's been remade a billion times, from the arcades to the PlayStation to the Xbox and then some. I think it's on Xbox. I know it's on PlayStation. Let's see. He says, why is Skyrim getting another re-release? Because people love it. Like, as much as I think Skyrim is mediocre let me be clear, for an Elder Scrolls game, I think overall, if it were just a standalone game, it'd be good. But as an Elder Scrolls game, I think it's one of the weaker ones, but people love that game. And, like, not for nothing, the soundtrack in Skyrim's pretty good. So, and I'm enjoying playing Skyrim with lightsabers. I just wish it didn't turn off achievements. Because, like, if I could do modded Skyrim with achievements, it'd be one of my favorite games of all time. But because it takes the achievements out, it kind of kills my OCD. All right, Harley's got to restore their PC. Terry's sick of hype culture in general. Yeah, unfortunately, hype is what they have to use to sell stuff. Let's see. Terry says, kids are fantastic. It's their parents that I hate. Not parents like you, be parents that don't. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, kids are awesome, man. They can drive you nuts, but it's just because, they're like, they have to be trained. They got to be taught everything. And I'm not usually very good at teaching people really, really basic shit sometimes. So I have to kind of like, oh yeah, I gotta remember how to do this so I can teach him how to brush his teeth. Like, oh God. Terry says Castlevania soundtracks in general are amazing. Terry says Rondo of Blood also soundtrack is. I need to try Rondo. I want to play Rondo of Blood really bad. And I almost bought a TurboGrafx 16 this weekend, but the guy wanted too much for it. Alyssa says, so happy you liked God of War, but bummed I missed the streams. I tell you what, Alyssa, I liked God of War enough maybe to give it another run. Because I'm glad. By the way, thank you for getting me to play that, and thank you for preparing me for the ending. Like one of the things I love about having Alyssa here is she'll drop like a scavenger hunt. She's like, hey, like, because she was the reason why I played Horizon Zero Dawn. She's also part of the reason why I have so much high praise for that game. And by the way, the main protagonist reminds me a lot of Alyssa. Very, very strong and very, very good hearted. Right? And I should say, not but, and like, she prepared me for just wait, the story's going to get amazing. So as things started to unfold, I had this thing to look forward to that if she hadn't have said that, I would have just been going about the game like, oh, screw the story, like my normal bullshit that I do on these streams. But she's like, no, no, no. The story's going to get really, really crazy. And the writers did such a good job of shrouding it in mystery that it was like, oh my God, the reveal was amazing. Like, Alyssa was right. It's one of those few games where I like the story. Not the whole story because it's too effing long, but the main themes of the plot are so good in Horizon Zero Dawn. Especially the ending. Like, yeah. And then God of War was this, like, Alyssa was like, just wait till the end. Because something's going to happen with one of the characters and your mind's going to be blown. And it doesn't happen until the exact end of the game. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. What? Like, I lost my whole crap when the ending of God of War happened. And Alyssa had prepared me for it, like, in her way. She's great. Like, Alyssa's going to make an amazing mom because her kids are always going to be curious and excited about shit. It's a gift that she has. And she had me so... I had forgotten all about that she had prepared me for the end of God of War. And when I got there, I was like, holy shit. Is that what we've been doing this whole time? What? Whoa! Like, and I'm not talking about the part where, because everybody has seen the clip where Thor shows up. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, Alyssa had me set up, and I was like, oh, she did it again. Oh, it's so great. Let's see, Terry says, no, do not play Ys Origins, please. Why? What's wrong with it? Well, where are you playing it at, though, Terry? Are you playing it on PS4? Most Ys games I have ever played. Memories of Celceta is good, though. Okay, well, Memories of Celceta is on my Vita, though, so I won't be able to stream that with you guys. That'll be one that I play in the bed. Which, maybe that's the game I need to jump. Oh, another game. So, here's the list of games. Since we're not really playing anything, tonight's stream was really... And, by the way, tonight's stream was really just me giving an opportunity to talk to you guys and let you know what's been going on with me. I went through a pretty rough patch a couple weeks ago, and I needed to get off the internet. Between deaths in the family and some shit that happened to me, it was like verge of nervous breakdown if I didn't take care of myself. And so, even the strongest of us can be vulnerable, guys. Never believe that just because I'm strong, I'm not susceptible to shit going on in my head, right? I never want to lie to you guys about that and project myself as some superhuman that never has problems, because I went through fucking hell the last couple of weeks and I needed time away. And some shit I still haven't come back to. I came back to YouTube because I love hanging with you guys. Pretty much everything else I do on the internet feels like work and not fun. This is the fun shit. So, a couple other games that I'm going to be playing, like Phantasy Star 3. Yes, it's the black sheep of the series, but the Phantasy Star games are always so cool to me. But I never can finish them because they're so old that if you don't have a map and a guide, it's impossible, because I'm not 12 and can't sit there for 6 hours a day figuring out the mazes. I need to have maps. So I've gotten guides and stuff to play. I got Shadowrun on Sega Genesis, Phantasy Star 3. I have Ghouls and Ghosts. I've never beaten a Ghouls and Ghosts game. I got Strider, which I love. I got Gain Ground on Sega Genesis, man. So a lot of cool stuff there. I got Truxton, Lagoon, Metal Gear, like a lot of old school stuff that we're going to be playing through. But maybe, I was thinking about playing Phantasy Star 3, but maybe I'll switch to playing Memories of Celceta in the bed as my little go-to-bed game. I'm also working on Star Ocean First Departure on Switch, because that became a thing, and I'd love to play that game with you guys. Like Star Ocean is my favorite Japanese role-playing game series of all time. I don't think that's ever going to change. because I think every other series is pretty bad. Well, the Dragon Quest series are pretty good. They're just not really made for me, so that's I don't really crap on those games. But I do have Dragon Quest 11, and I'd like to try that game with you guys. So that's another one. But yeah, so lots of stuff to try. But maybe I need to dig out Memories of Celceta to play in the bed. Because I think, yeah, I think I would rather play Star Ocean with you guys and then just do the level grinding in bed and then come back to play the stories with you and then play through Phantasy Star 3 with you guys. I can't do Phantasy Star 4 because I don't have the cartridge for that yet. I only have that on my... Oh, that's not true. I can hook my PSP up. Nope. The Elgato I have now won't let me hook up the PSP. But I do have adapters that would. But anyway, we'll figure all that stuff out. Let me get back to these comments so I can finish hanging with you guys and then get you on your way. But yeah, maybe I will give God of War a second run through. Because I already did the Platinum Trophy. So I think now I can probably play it. I think I had to do that on a harder difficulty if memory serves me right. Like if I can just play it on easy and like gang bust my way through it, I think I'll like the game even more than I did the first time. Alyssa says a near-death experience puts things in order. It's happened to me a couple of times. My boyfriend asked me about it, and it's a difficult experience to explain. Yes, very much so. Oh, so Terry says it's a remake of Ys 4, not Ys 3. Thank you for the correction. Big Burr says Blasphemous is a good Metroidvania, a little lengthy, though, for the full ending. I've never heard it. What system is that on, Burr? I've never heard of that one. He said, God damn, it's hot. Let's have service on the balcony. Evil is good. Yeah, Vampire in Brooklyn is so good. Let's see. Suba says, holy shit, he's finally playing Metroid. I mean, I'm not playing it. I'm talking over it while you guys are watching the pause screen, I guess. Clem says he got in trouble for questioning his pastor at church because one of the things I asked, because I kept asking him questions. I asked him if everyone is welcome in the house of God and asked for forgiveness. What if the devil walked in and was in tears at that? He got mad at you because he didn't have an answer for that question. Yeah. That's where the fabric of a lot of the faith system starts to have problems, is when you start to question them philosophically. It's like, guys, let people ask questions. They're going to anyway. You don't, and pastors are weirdly egotistical in that you don't have to have all the answers, dude. You don't. So tell people, I have no clue. Ask God. Let the Holy Spirit lead you. That's what I would have told you. Or I actually probably would have answered it with a question. I said, are you sure the devil's not a metaphor? And then I would have just walked away and let your brain try to do that mathematics. But yeah, I get it. Like the church is more about... anyway, I won't go down that rabbit hole because I'm going to start stereotyping and I don't want to. I'll just leave that one at that. Terry says, yeah, I can say that I'm living the dream for sure. Yes, dude, I think you are in the dream, bruh. And if it weren't for your parents, you could never... Yeah, and I think that's true for a lot of us. If I didn't have the dad I had growing up, all the people you guys hear me bitching about on the internet, I would be them. That's why I have empathy for these people who have no resilience and are emotionally weak. I would be them, and I am them in a lot of ways. I just had someone teach me out of it. I have the same vulnerabilities and capacity to be a piece of shit as any other human being. I just try not to as much as I possibly can. Let's see. Alyssa says, I loved Untraveled 2. It was so much fun to play with my boyfriend. It was a test to see how good of a partner he is. Huh. I'm not familiar with that game. I might have to look it up. Terry says, I don't like Risen. So, not liking Risen, it's hard to say, well, then you're going to hate Elix because same developer, same design philosophies, but Risen, Elix is on such a whole other level that Risen can't even hope to reach. Now, I loved Risen, so I'm biased, but I mean, it tells you a little bit about me as a gamer. I loved Risen, so I hate Skyrim and love Risen. That should tell you something about my taste in games. You probably shouldn't listen to me. The fun parts of Devil May Cry are the combos, though. Yeah, yeah, I feel you. And if you love Tekken, I think, and which I hate, by the way, I think you'd love it. Typical Iowan says, I just got in a heated argument with my dad because you got a job as a security guard at a bar, but he won't let me do it. I need his consent because I don't have my own car, and the job is 2 hours away. Okay. Um, what? Why was your dad adverse to letting you do it? What was the argument about? What was your dad's feeling? Is your dad's probably just trying to keep you safe, right? Doesn't want you to have to go be a bouncer at a bar where you could get beat up. What's up, Andrew? Terry says you can't play Rondo on TurboGrafx 16. You need the PC Engine CD. Yeah, yeah, I know. The TurboGrafx 16 was the first step to getting all the pieces. You can also play it on Super Nintendo, though. I think it's just not called Rondo of Blood, isn't it? Dracula Chronicles X, and it's on PSP. I think PSP is where I am trying to collect it, and I have my local retailer has it, but I didn't buy it because I want it complete in the box, and I think you only had the UMD disc. So when are you going to finish Grandia 2 then? That's a great question, Terry. I need to get a copy of Grandia 2 for the PlayStation 2 so I can do that. Because I don't want to play the PC version because that's a whole other monster trying to stream. But I haven't given up on going back to potentially play Grandia 2. Especially after the developers gave me a copy of it. I think the least I could do is give it another shot. I just need to find a PS2 copy that I can play on my PS3 that I can stream, and then we'll be in good shape. Terry says he's playing Ease Origin on PC. Got it. Alyssa says, oh, thanks, B. I would love to be a mom someday. And I'm told for all the wrong reasons. As no, I don't think there's any wrong reasons. Your reasons are your reasons. Terry says it's a nightmare. Imagine the most annoying dungeon in a video game. If it was the whole... Okay, thank you. I will be avoiding Ease Origin. Thank you for the heads up. Dungeons are my most hated part of RPGs, which I understand how stupid that statement sounds, but it's because the dungeons are always mazes of tedium with random encounters. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't hate all dungeons. Dungeons in Final Fantasy 12 were all right, but that's because I like Final Fantasy 12. Big Burris is glad you're still here. But yeah, I'm good, man. I have such a strong support systems that I'm never at risk of going too far. But I dealt with a lot of things happening in quick succession that I'm like, and by the way, I was dealing with working with my doctors all these years to get completely off of medications, right? And I was going through that process. So my body was going through changes while I was experiencing all this shit. And it's hard to regulate. Like, especially even for someone who's as mentally tough as I am. When your biology is fucking with your brain, I don't care how mentally tough you are, you're going to have a vision that the agent from the Matrix is coming to plug people in, right? And so you just, and I'm usually, well, always cognizant enough to be able to work through it. And my wife was here with me and helping me deal, but, you know, I just want you guys to know you're talking to a regular human. I'm not trying to be one of these freaking online people that's trying to present this image of just... I don't want to present an image. Certainly I play characters on these shows. You know, when I do my gaming streams, I basically play two characters. There's the satirical, sarcastic guy that's angry. And I use that guy to make fun of all the shit I think is dumb about video games. But it's all done from a place of love for video games. I'm making fun of it because hopefully someone will hear it and not get butt hurt because my opinion's different. But think, hey, because, like, when I reviewed Mass Effect, I said some pretty harsh stuff about it. One of the developers saw that review, was like, hey, man, I agree with this review. Thank you for saying this. And by the way, we're working to fix... I was talking about specifically the AI. Because I was professionally writing game reviews at that point. That was one of my side hustles. I was getting paid to do game reviews, and my media company was making my own gaming content on our website. And I had some. I loved the game. It was all net positive, but I said, hey, like the AI in this game sucks. And the developer was like, hey, just so you know, yes, because the technology didn't let us make it better. I'm like, hey, that's good to know. So now you can have a relationship with these developers where I'm not just shitting on your product. I don't want to shit on Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's people who love that game for the reasons they love it. Now, it is a game that's particularly made for me to hate it. So it's easy for me to go be angry, satirical, angry black video game nerd guy. But then there's also kind of practical me that's like, yeah, but the soundtrack's amazing. Yeah, but the visuals are really good. And hey, the characters, except for Barrett, are all better than they were in the original. Like, Cloud is actually likable. That's a huge leap. I just can't get with this game being a fucking soap opera that has pieces of gameplay peppered in. It's just not something I like. But, so I'll make fun of all the dumb stuff, but in the same breath, so I'll play characters, but at the same time, I still want to be a real person. Sometimes I got issues too, man. Just because I'm a quadrillionaire doesn't mean, sometimes I don't get depressed or have a shitty day. Or, I took my son, I kept a promise to my son last night. I took him to a micro center. He'd been begging me, let's go to micro center. And I probably wanted to choke 4 people while I was out. Because, first of all, if you're from Maryland and you're in a car, you're from Satan. None of you can drive. And this dude tried to cut me off on the toll road because he didn't want to be patient and stay in his lane. And I was like, part of me wanted to be like, if my kids weren't in the car, maybe I'd just smash into the back of this guy. And fuck it. Like, that thought went through my head. And I wasn't going to act on it. But sometimes I'm like, fuck everybody. I have my moments too. Oh. Let's see. Alyssa says, I want to be a mom because I can't leave this world without hope. Yeah. Why is that? That's a great, I think, isn't that the reason to have kids? How did somebody tell you that's wrong? That's the most noble reason I've ever heard for having children. Are you kidding me? How is that wrong? I'm dead serious. I've never heard a more noble reason for having kids than I want to put something in the world that leaves it with hope. What? Yeah. Yeah. Have all the kids, Alyssa. Matter of fact, I'm going to send you a couple of mine. My wife probably won't let me. Let's see. Terry says, yeah, but it's been a rough few years for some. Got to be thankful. Yeah, man. And by the way, my life is all net amazing. It's super positive. It's just sometimes you go through the dark parts, man. And you just push through and keep it moving. Like, me today is way better than me 2 weeks ago. That's why none of you guys heard from me. I was like, I gotta, like, the people I'm closest to, I told them, hey, you ain't gonna be hearing from me for a couple of weeks. I'm like, you're not gonna see any new shit on TikTok probably for a month if I ever go back. Like, I need to reevaluate some shit that's going on because I've been for years trying to help people online, and I'm getting to the end of my rope of the silliness I'm having to put up with just to try to help people. And like, I already know all this shit. I don't need to be on the internet saying it. Not these streams. These are more for fun. But like the stuff I do to actually help people, it's like, I can just go back to doing seminars in real life, which to me is way more fun than any of this internet bullshit. Like, and I never need to do another live stream trying to coach anybody on anything. And not coach, but just to be present for people that have questions and challenges. Like a lot of young people want to go in the military, so they have questions for me. People are dealing with, I had a kid come on one of my streams who was suicidal. Like, try to dance on that high wire. Someone comes on your stream and says, I'm 15 minutes from ending it. What do you got? Yeah. You want to know how well you can fucking tap dance? Like, have that guy show. And by the way, that's not one of the streams I was angry about. I was happy that kid showed up. Oh, by the way, he's doing well now. Job, girlfriend, money, house. He's got a place to live because he's a young dude. It's not his house, but he's not homeless. He found a job. He's like, homeboy is doing all right, but he wasn't so. That's why you would show up on the internet. But then to help him, I got to get around all this other bullshit that's just not worth it. It's like, dude, I can go back to just doing this shit. Like today, I spent one of the companies I own. I'll give you some inside baseball. one of the companies I own, I don't work at it. I'm not qualified to work in the business. Please believe that. But I play an advisory role to the people who are actually doing the work. So they can, when they have issues, they can hit me up and say, hey, can you help us think? And I was on the phone probably for about 2.5, 3 hours with the CEO saying, hey, here's some shit we need to do. Right? To think about your health and how we drive shit forward and how we actually win. Like, that's the shit I'm up to that you guys aren't seeing. Because I'm not going to stream that. That's private. But it's like, I went downstairs to have breakfast or to break my fast. I didn't eat until close to 2 p.m. I had just finished, and my son was like, Dad, how's your day going? I was like, it's fan-effing-tastic. I said, first of all, I got to see your face. Every day I get to see your face is a good day, no matter what else happens. I said, secondly, I just got to help somebody I really love and care about get through some hard shit. That's my dream. That's what I live for. I don't need TikTok for that shit. You know what I mean? So it was like, I told my people that were close to me, like, hey, I'm going to cool out for a while, because I've known since 2015 that this social media shit is over. And it's getting pimped out by all these advertising companies, and it's just going to turn into a shit show. And it's steadily been turning exactly into that. And then I'll give you guys kind of the inside scoop at the end of the online of all the shit that I'm doing, not the end of it, but where it will eventually pan out. You'll have my podcast, you'll have my Discord server, and you'll probably still have this YouTube channel. And that will be the only places I do anything online, because I'm very deliberately pulling myself out of shit, because the world is wanting to go in a direction that I don't want to be a part of, at least the virtual world. And I don't want to stop the people that want the world the way they want it to be. Live your life and live your dream, and you can have it. I'm going to go over here with the people who are doing it this way. Y'all do it your way, and we can all be happy if we just leave each other alone. Right? And I think the world would be such a better place, not if people were kinder, but if you could just stand to leave people alone that don't agree with whatever bullshit you believe in, the world would immediately be a better place. But no. Too many people are egotistical and narcissistic and can't accept that there are people in the world that see things, like Clem's pastor, who yelled at a child for asking a legitimate question. And you know why the pastor yelled at Clem? Because he's an idiot who didn't know the answer. Like, I can actually give you a biblical answer for that if you like, and I'm not even a fucking church pastor. Right? There's a very practical reason why the answer to that question, depending on how you interpret the Bible, is no. And I could have given that to Clem without yelling at him. I'd have given him the answer and said, but you know what? Do your own research. Pray and let God lead you. Because maybe I'm not right, even though I'm the pastor. Easy way to answer a question for a kid. But most people can't do that because they're ego-driven fucking maniacs. So, like, if we could just leave each other alone, dude, the world would be amazing. Let's see. Terry says, I'm going to be honest. I have never actually played First Departure. I only played Super Famicom Original. Wow. Okay. But did you play Second Evolution? Because if you played Second Evolution, you've played First Departure. First Departure is just a little bit shorter and a little bit more linear is not the right word, but like it's succinct. Like First Departure is just a succinct it's a succinct version of Second Evolution or the second story. The Super Famicom version, which I actually have and would love to play on this stream, I got to get the translation. What's it called? I think I actually have the translated version of that I could play. Yeah, matter of fact, where is that? I bet you I could put that in right now. I got to find the cartridge. Anyway, it's quite a bit different. Like the names of the people are different. Obviously, the graphics are very different. I want to play the Super Famicom version because I think in the end I'm going to like it better than First Departure. Because First Departure is a little bit sanitized. The Super Famicom version is much more like what we remember playing those old school Super Nintendo RPGs. Waiting for them to release it on PC, but they never did. They might now that you can get it on Switch. I don't know if you have a Switch, but that's where I have the PSP version, thank God, because that's going to be worth money. I think it's already going up in price. Let me look it up. Let me look it up. Star Ocean First Departure. Because I think even Second Story on PlayStation is going for I think even that's going for like 60 now. Okay, no, so First Departure is still only $40, but they don't have it, so finding it is hard. So Star Ocean Second Story. But I do believe these PSP games, yeah, see, like Star Ocean the Second Story right now is twice what I paid for it. It's selling for $90. That's insane. Thank God I got my copy when I did. And I hate, because I used to have like 3 copies of it and I traded a bunch of them. But thankfully I do have one that I kept. Jesus. Like I could go trade it back to the store for twice what I paid for it. Which, by the way, Folklore on PlayStation 3, if you have it, hang on to it, because that's now worth $100. I paid $20 for that game in December last year. It's now worth $115. And then Xenogears is now up there. I paid, I think, $60 for Xenogears, and now that's $120. Like, hang on to your PlayStation games, guys, because the PSP and the Vita, I'm convinced, are going to be like the Saturn and the TurboGrafx 16 in terms of collectability. Even though the PSP library is quite a bit bigger than I think both of those systems, there's a lot of gems on the PSP that, because the only people really collecting that stuff are Evolution, are older guys like me. There's not a lot of it on the market. Yeah, like Star Ocean Second Evolution, holy crap, is selling for $100. I paid, I think, $25 for it when I got it, because I had it when it first came out, and then I traded it, and then I rebought it maybe 2 or 3 years ago for about $20, and now that's worth $100. So, Terry, I think First Departure probably will come to PC eventually, because I think Second Evolution already did, and it came to Switch. So that's crazy, man. So many of these games that I collected are now worth bang. And what I'm really looking forward to is once the stock market, it's not going to crash, but once it corrects, like all these people that are buying up games because of COVID are going to have to sell all that shit. I'm going to have a all-you-can-eat collecting buffet when all those people have to sell off their shit to pay their rent because the market does what it does. I'll be like, oh, you need to sell your NES with your entire collection still in the box? Yeah. Go ahead and send that to me. Here's the money. Like, I'm just waiting. Like, I stopped collecting because the market went nuts and everybody started buying up shit. I'm like, all these people are going to have to sell this after they have to go back to work. And I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it at a discount, baby. Let's see. Jolly D says, I want to see some Strider. And I'm gonna have to skip some of y'all's comments, man, because y'all are too good tonight, man. Too many good combos. Let's see. I want to see some Strider. I never played that, but he was a fun character on Marvel vs. Capcom. Okay, yeah. Matter of fact, hell, what are we doing? Why not? Hey, where's my? I'm actually playing this with an NES controller. I can always come back. You want to see some Strider, brother? I got you. Let's go ahead and pull that out. Here we go. 6-button Genesis controller, baby. Strider going in. Now, where is my Genesis controller? And the one thing that's cool about this Retron is I have a Genesis, a Super Nintendo, and an NES controller plugged in, and I can use them all at the same time. Oh, snap. This left me off where I was playing it last. How cool is that? I didn't know you could do that on the Retron 5. Here you go, Strider. There's always one that jumps up there. Yeah, got you, ho. All right, run it. Oh. Gotcha, ho. Yeah, like old games like this, which this was an arcade game originally. This is some of my favorite stuff in video games. Straight up. I love this stuff. Love it. Oh! Gets me every time. Hey, it started me up here. How cool is that? So this is what you guys are going to see me start playing more often. Because I've just had enough of modern video games, man. Enough is enough. Dagger, man. Gotta figure this out. Oh, get there. No, get off the... Getting my ass beat. No, get off of that. That's what's getting you beat up. There we go. There we go. No, you whore! I'm not the best at platforming in games, so. I tried to jump, man. So, Strider does not have the best controls in the world, I will tell you that. Get up, fool! Jesus. And I think this is like a mini boss fight that's really hard to win if memory serves me right. This game is merciless too, man. You will get your ass whooped out here if you don't come prepared. So I've always wanted this game since my childhood. And I just finally got it like earlier this year. I know, because I love this game in the arcade. My parents wouldn't buy me a Sega Genesis. Like this was... I finally got Strider. After... When did this come out? 1989, I think? So yeah, it's been a couple of years. I also like Strider on the NES, even though it's a different kind of game. It's actually not bad. If you can get good at it. It does take some time to get good at the NES Strider, but it's fun. Wow, I am doing much better than I did the first time I played. Oh, come on! Give me that! Damela! So I will tell you, if you played the Strider on PlayStation 4, this one is better. This game is, like, Strider on the PlayStation 4 is more polished. It looks better. It even mechanically plays better, but this game's more fun. That game was weirdly boring. I was very disappointed. I beat it, but I was like, this isn't really all that fun. It doesn't have the same kind of nostalgic love factor that, you know, this Strider had. Booyakama! Oh, you base garden hookers. Get up here, ho. Yes! Damela! Konnichiwa, bitches. Like, just look at the scenery in this game. You're not seeing any games in the modern world doing cool shit like this no more, man. Actually, you fight this boss in the new Strider. It's quite a bit, it's quite a bit more challenging on this one than it was in the new Strider. Like, the new Strider wasn't as hard as this game is. This game's quite a bit more difficult. Like, just the senators sitting at the table and then they turn into the boss fight. Come on, bruh. How dope that is. Get up, get up, get up. There it is. Kick ass. Got him. Unraveled 2, says Elizabeth. Yeah, I picked up on what you meant. I think I know the game you're talking about, but I've seen a couple of those different co-op games, so I'm not sure which one it is. Let's see. My man Tristan's in here. I wanted to catch his comment. I feel you with Gears of War. What got me into it was the darkness of the story, and they commit to the outcomes. It bugs me when people kill off a character. Yeah, so I only played the original Gears of War, so like the story and all that stuff, I'm not even familiar with what happens. I did try to play Gears of War 5 when I bought my Xbox One, and I just got bored. I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna do something else. But I think it's because I sucked at the game, not because. And I don't think any of the Gears games are bad, by the way. They just, that third-person clunky control shooter just wasn't really my jam. Let's see. Terry says, by the way, Brian, Ys 4 Dawn of Ys is a phenomenal soundtrack. Okay. And so does Memories of Celceta have the same soundtrack? Tristan Wiley says, same for movies. If you're going to try and evoke an emotion out of me and kill off a main character, commit to it. Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I'm with you on that. I don't mind the bump system, Terry. Is that the one where you run and you just run into the enemies instead of actually swinging the sword? That doesn't bother me. You guys are going to see me play Lagoon, which I'll play right now. I'll show you the other game I was going to show you guys tonight. So we'll just have kind of like a round robin here before we shut down for the Noche. And this is one of my favorite childhood games that I'm about to show you guys, man. So this is a special occasion. Make sure I put it in the right slot. Do I want to play with the Genesis controller or this? Let's try it with the Super Nintendo controller. But to do that, I gotta find it first. Here it is. Oh wow, I think it's still on the old load, which I guess isn't the end of the world. I gotta learn the control, because I was playing this earlier with the Genesis controller, and I need to figure out what the controls are. Okay, there's the controls. Wow, this is much easier with the Super Nintendo controller. And this is way far into the game. This is not, well, I don't know if it's way far, but it's certainly not the beginning. But I love, like, listen to this soundtrack, dude. This soundtrack is so fantastic in this game, man. So good. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Let me turn it up a little bit. Because I do keep the volume pretty low because, for whatever reason, the Elgato be blasting stuff and not making my microphone loud enough. I gotta get everything hooked up to a good mix amp eventually. And get back to my old music production days and stop running this kind of skeleton shop that I run now. Because I no longer do these streams professionally. I just do them for fun. Wait, why is he not launching the magic? There it is. I was like, where's the magic there? There you go, ho. Got it. Yeah, I will definitely be playing this with the Super Nintendo controller going forward. Much easier. Anyway, I don't want to spoil too much of this one. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Got to remember the Super Nintendo and Genesis do things a little differently. All right, where is the dust cover for this game? Oh, that's right, I left it with the box. So I have Lagoon complete in the box, which I love, since it's one of my favorite. It's one of the first Super Nintendo complete in the box games I collected when I started recollecting. And I got it from Luna Games in San Diego. If you guys are fans of Pat the NES Punk, the guy he does his podcast with is a gentleman named Ian, who is actually a pretty cool cat, man. I go to his store once a year in San Diego, the store he runs. It was funny because I walked in his store, and I was like, I know this dude. And because I didn't know, I just assumed he was an internet personality. I didn't know he ran a video game store. And so every year when we go to San Diego for the Super Bowl, we go back to the store, and I usually will buy something from Ian, like, yo, what do you got? And that year it was Lagoon, and they happened to have it traded in like pristine condition, complete in the box. I was like, dog, holla. This needs to happen immediately. So this is the other game I was going to play with you guys, which, weirdly, okay, here we go. Like, look how clean the colors look on the Retron 5, bro. This would look nothing like this if I was playing it on the actual NES. put my headset on so I can hear the game. This is my favorite Metal Gear, by the way. Well, correction. My favorite Metal Gear is the actual Metal Gear on the MSX. It is a better game than this, but all the nerds that say, it's not the real one, it's like, it's close to damn enough, bruh. For real. Chill. It's not that damn different. Woo! I remember that trick. Stop it. What are you doing? Oh, we're supposed to... I guess that trick doesn't work anymore. You're supposed to be able to select it and stop the pitfall from killing you. Or maybe I'm not remembering that right. Ooh, password. Anyway, I didn't write that down, so I just lost all my progress. Which isn't really that big a deal, because I was 4 minutes into the game. Terry says, I don't love Tekken. Devil May Cry is way... yes, agreed. I was exaggerating for humor. It is not as complex as Tekken. I just hate both. Typical Iowa says, yeah, safety was his issue. Okay, well, your dad's trying to keep you safe, which I can't blame him. If my son came to me and says, yo, I'm going to work at a bar as a bouncer, I'd be like, hey, let's talk about this, man. There's a lot of other things you could do with your life besides that. So I get where your dad's coming from, but I also get that it probably was, I have to imagine, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it was probably pretty frustrating, because as a young man, you want to be able to establish, your independence. So I can definitely see why you'd have some frustration with that. So what are you feeling in terms of, like, your dad's got an issue with it. How are you dealing with that emotionally first, right? And processing the fact that you're probably feeling a little bit, not belittled, but coddled, but I don't want to speak that over you. You can tell me how you're feeling. And then beyond that, what's the game plan? Dracula X's soundtrack isn't as good as Rondo of Blood's. Okay, noted. He says, Devil's Castle, Dracula X, Rondo of Blood just rolls off the tongue. What's up, Suba? Let's see. Terry says, honestly, PC Engine Red Book soundtracks are like nectar from the god. Yeah, I've got to get into... I have got to get into TurboGrafx 16. By the way, that was the first console I asked my parents to get me before the Sega Genesis. And they said no to both, and then they eventually got me an NES 12 years later. I think I had graduated college, and like, here you go, son. Congratulations on graduating college in 2014. Here's your NES. Like, damn. Get a table dance. Terry says, if I grew up in the 80s like you guys did and experienced PC Engine, it would probably be my... Well, see, here's the problem, dude. We didn't experience the TurboGrafx 16 in the 80s because it wasn't popular. That system killed in Japan and in the UK. The States we didn't get the love over here, man. That's y'all's joint. Unfortunately, because honestly, I think there's so many games that are my kind of games on the TurboGrafx, the spaceship shooters. Oh, dude, the run and gun shooters. Oh, like Rambo 3. Come on, bro. Like, I want to play those games so bad. It's like Heavy Barrel on the NES, which is another game I've been trying to collect. That's one of my main NES games I want. But anyway, you get the point. See, but I still don't know about the system. I've just started digging my teeth into it. I can dig it. I think you might like Kadash, Bryant. That's a good... Yeah, that's on my list to collect. Kadash is definitely on my list. Or Kadash. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Terry says, I don't own a Switch. I have a PC. I have Second Evolution and Second Story. Okay. I got you. And the Super Famicom original. I sold Folklore. Oh, damn. I knew Folklore was going to get expensive. I just knew it. Because when it came out, I think I was still running the RPG club. And a couple of the guys were telling me, B, you need to try Folklore. You bitch about video games all the time. You're going to like Folklore. And I was like, I don't like PlayStation. I'm not getting a PlayStation 3. And then eventually somebody gave me a PS3. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll play some PS3 games since somebody gave me one for free. And then eventually last year, like I said, at Christmas last year, I was like, let me get Folklore. I had it on my wait list to collect. And I was like, let me just wait until my boy gets one in stock. And then I got the message. He got it. Bought it for $20.56. It's now worth $115. And if like I could go to the store right now and still sell it for $80. I could make $60 on, like if I had to pay a bill and didn't have the money. And that's why I tell people about game collecting. I'm like do your hobby in a way that builds wealth for you, right? And I'm not saying you're going to become a millionaire off of collecting games, because believe me, by 75, all this shit I'm collecting ain't going to be worth shit. It's going to be all my kids taking care of it or whatever, right? But for now, like, I like to collect video games. It's like, well, be wise about it. Like, collect something, because I've been doing this a long time. I can smell when a game is going to be like Folklore, because the reason why I knew Folklore was going to hit was because everyone that played it that I heard from liked it, but nobody talks about it. That's a telltale sign that in a couple of years, give it 10 years, this game's going to be expensive. Suikoden 5 was the same way. Everyone who played it liked it, myself included. I got all the way to the final boss and didn't level up properly, so I quit on principle, because that was during I was starting to hate video games, and I was making a stance like, fuck this game, I'm not spending another 3 hours leveling up characters it wants me to play with. Don't give me 120 characters if you don't want me to use the ones I like, you idiots. Like, I was angry, and I was just like, screw it. And then I traded it, and I was like, I shouldn't have done that, because all the Suikoden games, like, dude, I had Persona and Persona 2 on the PS1. I had them both. I had both versions of Persona. You know how much that shit's worth now? Ah, I had the original Suikoden. And I never had Suikoden 2. I got that digitally. I had Valkyrie Profile, which I don't really care that I lost that, because I don't love it. But still, I got rid of the Persona games. That still hurts. Like, thank God I kept Lunar and Lunar 2 complete in the collector's boxes. I was like, I'm not going to trade those. Those are my two most precious collectibles. I'll keep those. Thank God I kept those. And I only paid, I think, $29 for them. Because they were still selling them at GameStop when I started collecting PlayStation stuff. Like back in 2005, 2006, you could still buy PS1 games right in the rack. And somebody had traded in Lunar 1 and 2. I think they were both $29. And it was like, what? These collector's editions with the maps and everything are only $29? I'll take both. And next thing you knew, now I think they're worth 80 and 100 or something like that. Like, they haven't gone up terribly in price because, frankly, they're games you can play on 90 different systems. So I think the PlayStation versions are not the most popular. I think the either Sega CD or Saturn or one of those is. But anyway. Terry says, gotta go, Brian. Take care. Always pleasure. Always a pleasure, Terry. Love having you here, man. Have a great night. I'm actually getting ready to get out of here, too, and go to bed myself. Clem says, this reminds me of Revenge of Shinobi. Yes, it does have a strong Shinobi vibe. I think Shinobi controls a little bit better. Josh Quinn says, so concerning about the market correcting itself, I take it this would imply to the people who scalp trading cards and the new consoles. No, not so much the new consoles. Those are going to retain their value just because they're scarce right now. So when the market corrects, those will probably still be being sold for the price, because not everybody's going to get hammered by the market correcting. So I don't know that the scalpers are going to be stopped, but all the shit that people spent the last year buying up because of COVID, like, try to go to a video game store now and buy anything for the TurboGrafx. There's nothing there because everybody was trying to buy anything they could get their hands on to play at home because they're stuck at home. So everybody bought up all this shit during COVID that when financial trouble starts to hit after the market corrects, one of the first things to go is people's luxury items. Like, I got my Vectrex and like 20 or 30 games with the overlays and the booklets and an extra controller and the adapter to hook up my Sega Genesis controller, and like the dude put a book together that explains how all the games work. I have the other thing that you can solder onto the motherboard that gets rid of the buzzing sound. Like, he gave me everything for like a couple $100, like less than $1,000 for all of that shit. Like, the Vectrex alone can go for almost $300 by itself, depending on, you know, you can get it cheaper than that maybe, but like, the guy needed to get rid of it because he was a young dude who happened to have it, and he needed money. I think he was going to college, and he was moving out of his house. He's like, I gotta have money. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. That's where I'll be at, like, a bunch of people will be on Craigslist and Facebook selling TurboGrafx 16s and Turbo CDs because they need money. And now they're price gouging because it's, you know, they can sell it. This dude tried to sell a TurboGrafx untested for the price of what one costs in a box. I'm like, dude, nobody's buying that shit. I'll just wait till the market corrects and you'll be selling that for $60. And that's when like, my Sega Genesis, my favorite Sega Genesis I ever bought, I got for $10. The dude was just like, I got to get rid of it here. He's like, matter of fact, here's an extra power cord and an extra controller. He's like, just get it. And he came and met me to sell it to me. And I took it right into East Starland. That's where we met at. And I had him test it. I said, hey, can you test this Genesis I just bought off the guy in the parking lot for $10? He's like, yeah, it works perfect. I was like, thanks, guys. I got a new working Genesis for $10. You know, that Genesis, now try to buy a Genesis. What does it cost? Let me go to eBay. Like, you go to eBay right now, a complete Sega Genesis probably costs you about $50, $60, if I had to guess. Alright, so let's go to the filters. See, I'm not used to doing this on the PC, so I need to find out where the filters are. Oh, it's on, here it is. Here we go. So, Sega Genesis console. Oh, and by the way, that dude threw in like a special edition hand-painted Spy vs. Spy on the NES, which is one of my favorite games from the Commodore 64. So yeah, a Sega Genesis Model 2. This dude's selling it for $40. This guy has a Model 2 for $60. Like, I'm not even seeing Model 1s. Damn, this dude's selling a CDI he sold it for $600. See, like right now, the Sega CDX, which is the device where you can play Sega CD and the Genesis in one device. It looks like an old Walkman. Somebody just sold one, matter of fact, yesterday, I think. Or is this today? Yeah, he sold it today for $609. Once the market corrects, I guarantee you I can get one of those for $300 because people will be trying to get rid of it. If there, there's people in the market to sell it. So like the Model 2 Genesis, they have tons of them, so they're not very expensive. I'm not even seeing any Model 1 Genesis that were sold. Here's one. But so this Model 1 Genesis doesn't have the high definition graphics words on it, and that one's selling for $40. And that's a Genesis. Genesis used to be one of the cheapest consoles you could find on the market. And now it's, and here's one with the high definition graphics selling for $50. I paid $10 for mine last year. But once the market corrects, everyone will be getting rid of that shit just to make a little extra cash. So, will it affect the scalpers? The answer is I don't know. Obviously, I'm speculating, but I don't think so. Because the scalpers are already selling to a very small niche of people that have money. Those people are probably not going to lose a lot of their money when the market corrects. Right? So those people will still be in the market to buy shit. They'll be the me's of the world that are looking to buy stuff, not offload stuff. So, but, I don't care what they do with the, I don't care what they do with these new consoles. I ain't buying one until they announce a game that I give a shit about, which hasn't happened yet. And then 2, I probably won't get it until they release the second or third version of whatever these consoles are going to be. Because why? If I'm not rushing out to spend $600 to play Xbox One games with slightly better graphics, get out of here. Would those people be reselling those things once the pandemic ends and they get their jobs again? No, I think those people will probably hold on to it. The folks that'll be looking to offload stuff will probably be people that just need the cash. You know, like and it's already started happening. Like when I watch my local retailer, I get notifications when games I want to collect come in. There's a dude who last week traded in every single Mega Man game for the NES with the booklet. He didn't make a lot of, like, he made probably $50 per cartridge, and now my buddy is reselling them for, in some cases, over $100. So that guy needed cash, and he was willing to give up the original Mega Man with the booklet. Like, what? I'd never let go of that if I had that game. The original Mega Man is actually my favorite one. Mega Man 2 is a better game, but I like Mega Man 1 is, oof, so good. Typical Iowa says, the attitude my dad had was, you're not the badass I was at your age, so it was definitely belittling. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that, man. The main reason I wanted this job, though, is because I would be working for my cousin. He recently started his own freelance armed guard company and needs employees. They announced the sequel to God of War 2006. Hey, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you knew the sequel was coming at the end of the game. There's no way they're not making a sequel to this. I don't know if it's the type of game I want to play a bunch of sequels to, because I'll admit I really enjoyed it, but it was one of those games that when it was over, it was like, okay, I don't ever need to do this again, but I enjoyed it for what it was, but I also enjoyed it enough to play it again. It's good, and by the way, the stories, it's one of the rare games where I actually praise the story. Like, Nier Automata had a great story, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Last of Us is a fantastic story. One of the better stories in video games from my perspective. I didn't play Last of Us 2. I heard everybody was pissed about it, but I was pissed that they made a part 2 because I was like, there's no way they're going to top the story. The ending needed to be left alone, and then they're going to make a sequel. Well, they're going to butcher the ending. Like, it's the same thing with The Matrix. The way The Matrix ends, full stop. Don't say anything else. Let the viewer fill in the blanks. Like Total Recall. But no, because there's money to be made, we got to make a bunch of damn sequels. And it's just like, all right, good luck making those sequels anywhere near as interesting as the original. Which, to The Matrix's credit, the sequels didn't suck, but they were nowhere near as good as the first one to me. Josh Quinn says, I see. Well, thanks for answering my question. I have to get going to wind down for bed. Good night. Yeah, good night to you too, man. And yeah, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. I'm just speculating based on things I've seen in the past. And I am not like a professional collector like a lot of these guys out here. Like Pat the NES Punk could probably tell you way better than I. He's probably forgot more about game collecting than I'll ever know. Or people like Metal Jesus is a guy that, like, Metal Jesus and GameSack are literally where I go in Classic Game Room to figure out, okay, what am I collecting next? And Joe from GameSack, he brings it, man. Like, the shit he has shown me in video games is so... Like, it's one of those situations where I watch his channel and I'm like, how are 1 million people not watching this shit? Like, how are 1 million people not watch? This show is so good, but then I think, well, yeah, but that dude's in his 50s, I think, because the guys that made that show are quite a bit, or they're quite a bit older than me. I think Joe is in his 40s, and I think Dave was in his, or is now in his 50s. And I know they're both older guys. They're older than me, but I'm still close enough to them in age where it's like, okay, they're talking about shit that I would care about. Like, my sons aren't watching GameSack, you know? They're watching Corey Kenshin, or my older kids don't really watch that, but my younger kids like Corey Kenshin and shit like that, which, by the way, hats off to Corey Kenshin. I think he retired. Really entertaining dude. He entertained my kids for a good couple of years, man, with what seemed like some pretty good, wholesome stuff, so... At least the stuff I saw was pretty talented, pretty good. So, hats off to Corey. If his retirement was actually a retirement, God bless him. I wish him the best. Clem says Total Recall had a sequel. No, no, no. I was praising Total Recall for not having a sequel because the ending lets the viewer fill in the blanks. You don't know what happens at the end of Total Recall. It's up to you. And no movies in the modern world do that anymore. The Matrix did that. It's like, I don't know how this technically ends. I get where it's headed, but my imagination fills in the blanks. Movies won't let you do that anymore. Which, by the way, I've been telling people on my Discord, yo, if you're on Netflix, please watch the show Lady Dynamite. You want to talk about complex comedy writing that's got so much shit baked into a 20-minute episode that's actually funny, but also really, really insightful about mental health. Because I watched the pilot episode and I showed it to my wife and I said, this is me. This was me. Because I was in, like her, I had to go to outpatient mental health for PTSD years ago. And I didn't have to. I went on my own volition. I wasn't like forced. I was like, I need to get right. I'm not dealing with some things in the world all that great. And I want to get better. So I went to an outpatient program where they could help me figure out what the fuck's wrong with my brain after all the trauma I've been through. And it was great. But the show makes fun of it in a way that if you've been in that type of environment, it's hilarious. Like, dude, and the character played by Maria Bamford, who I think is a fantastic comedian, she, like, one of the scenes she acts out, like, there's two scenes, one where her therapist loses her shit, and I told my wife, I said, that's me coaching. Like, that, not coaching my Spartans, because I love, like, watch this scene where the therapist loses her shit on the people in the rehab. I said, that's me mentoring on the internet. Like, word for word, because she's like, let's practice saying things to people that frustrate us. And she's like, Meredith, you're a total B. And then she walks up to the other guy. She's like, and Scott, you make me want to take every pill in my desk drawer. It was just like, yes, that is what it's like to try to help people on the internet. They drive you fucking nuts. And then some of them, the minority, most of the people are fantastic. But the ones who suck, like you guys were on that Final Fantasy stream where the fucking Ku Klux Klan retard came in here and it's just like, for the love of God, dude, can we live without your stupidity? Like, I'm not even upset that you're racist. I'm more upset that you're an idiot who's wasting everybody's time with your shitty jokes. Like, I would even let you be here if you were a racist, but you were funny. Like, if you could at least make the joke funny, I'd be like, all right, that was at least funny. You're a racist, but at least you made us laugh. Now get the fuck out of here. Like, you're going to be racist and not be funny. Like, don't waste my fucking time. But then the flip side was Maria Bamford in the program, she loses her shit. And I'm like, that was me 2 weeks ago. Like, when she loses it, I was like, that is what was getting ready to happen if I didn't turn the internet off. Because there was a day, I don't remember which day it was a couple weeks ago, where in the back of my mind, I was like, let me just delete all of my social media, except for YouTube. And I don't consider YouTube social media. That's why I kind of like it. It's not social media. But I was like, let me just get off of all this shit because it's not worth it. But then I thought, man, there's millions of people that watch this. I'm helping way more people than the little band of idiots that I'm not helping. So let me be rational. And I held off on it. But yeah, please watch Lady Dynamite. It's a show, I think it started in 2017. I just got around to it. But if you've ever dealt with mental illness, you will very much enjoy just the take on everything. Like, and in fact, the first 5 seconds of the pilot, I was like, no, I'm exaggerating. The first 12 seconds of the pilot, I was locked in. I was like, yep, this show gets me right on. It came out of the gate throwing shoryukens, bro. It's like, she came out throwing dragon punches. I was like, yep, this show knows me too well. Let's see. Total Recall says, thank God the reboots. I don't watch reboots, man. They're never good. Never. And I shouldn't say I never watch them. But like, they're talking about rebooting Big Trouble in Little China with The Rock. I love The Rock. Me and Dwayne, brothers from different mothers, dog. I don't want to see I don't want to see them butcher Big Trouble in Little China and then it get blamed on The Rock, which is what I think will happen. It'll suck, And then everyone will say The Rock ruined it. Like, he didn't ruin shit. But, like, no. Just leave it alone. Just make a different movie with The Rock in it that's similar to that. And I'll love it. But leave Big Trouble in Little China alone. Like, I think, didn't they reboot RoboCop? I was like, I'm not watching that. I'm not watching the Total Recall reboot. It's dumb. Like, reboots, I don't know any of them that I can think of off the top of my head that are ever any good. You know, save for classic movies like The Italian Job. The reboot of that was okay with Marky Mark. It wasn't the best thing, but it wasn't terrible. Like, some reboots are okay, but most of the time when you're watching a reboot, it's like, oh, come on. Yeah, they'll ruin it. I mean, come on, man. We don't need a Big Trouble in Little China. That movie, and the sick part about Big Trouble in Little China is that is decidedly an 80s movie. We don't live in those times anymore. So the whole mystique of that movie, you need to have been there. Like, if I showed, I remember I let my kids watch The Goonies. My older kids dug it. My younger kids got bored halfway through. Like, it just, if you weren't there, it doesn't have the same pull. So trying to pull, like, the 80s was a very specific time in film where if you didn't live through it, trying to reboot shit from it now is just going to be lost. We don't, like, the world is more feminine now than it was back then, and for better or for worse. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It just is. So it's like, there's just things about the world where shit in the 80s that was cool and hilarious just won't work the way it did. You know, like they tried to reboot Coming to America, and I have been completely silent about that. Silent. I don't think I've said anything publicly about Coming to America, and I won't. Because I love Eddie Murphy, and I'm going to leave it at that. I love Eddie Murphy. He's one of my indirect mentors. He's half of the personas I play on this show come from him. And shit that I watched when I was a kid that he was a part of. He's one of my idols. He's one of the kings. He's on the Mount Rushmore of people I look up to. And Coming to America defined part of my childhood. I don't ever want to talk about the new one publicly because I love Eddie, is all I'm saying. I love him too much to talk about that film. Because no, like, oh no. Just some stuff needs to be left back where it was. That's all I'll say publicly. I love Eddie. I love everything he does. And I can't bring myself to say what I know about that movie because my idol did it, and I just feel like I'm betraying him. The RoboCop reboot was actually decent. You liked it. Okay. All right, I'll buy that. Sanding down this helmet is smooth as hell. Yeah, so anyway, don't remake Big Trouble in Little China. Just give The Rock a different movie that's quirky like that and call it something else, and I'll go watch it. I love The Rock, man. Who doesn't love The Rock? Love The Rock. And I even love his movies that I don't think are that good. Like, because they're just fun to watch, and he's hilarious. I'm like, I'll watch that. Like, some movie my wife had me watching with her where he's I think a secret agent or some shit, and it's a horrible film. And, like, I started literally, it's so bad that I started predicting lines. Like, this is what they're going to say next. She's like, how did you know that? Did you see it? I was like, no, babe. Come on, dude. I used to be a performer. You can see the code of the Matrix when you've been a performer this long. You can see the moves. I was like, acting and comedy are like music. At some point you could just read the sheet music and see what's coming. But it didn't. I still enjoyed it, even though I knew the dialogue before they said it. I still had a good time because The Rock is fun to watch. But I don't want to watch him as Jack Burton. Now, here's the flip side. Watch him make it and it be dope and me be completely wrong. I would love that. I love it. Like, if they do reboot it and somehow they get Carpenter to come back and help him and make it not suck and it ends up being great, not going to complain. I would rather them not try because I don't want to see one of my favorite movies from my childhood get destroyed. And get destroyed with people in the film who I actually really like and don't want to see them have a bad film. Like, I even liked the parts of Rampage that I saw. And that movie was pretty bad from the pieces I saw, but it was The Rock. So it's like, I'll watch it. Who cares? Let's see, I like the Jumanji remix. Yeah, Jumanji was fun. Yeah, I forgot about Jumanji. Thanks for that one, Iowa. The Jumanji movies were cool. And I like the original Jumanji. That was pretty dope. See what else we got. Broken Suba says, no, sorry, I disagree wholeheartedly about RoboCop being decent. Glad you... I never saw it, so I can't speak to it. I probably won't ever see it. I'm not the biggest fan of the original RoboCop. That movie kind of... I saw it in theaters as a little kid, and it kind of traumatized me a little bit. I wasn't ready to see death like that as a kid. I was a little bit naive, and it messed me up. So, yeah. I'm good on RoboCop. I don't think I watched any of the sequels. The original was fine. I've seen it a couple of times. It's a great film. It's not something I need to go back and watch, and I certainly don't need to watch a reboot of it. Clem says, I'm not a fan of TV shows, but I got convinced to watch Baller. Great freaking show. Yeah, I don't do shows either. That's why I like stuff like Lady Dynamite, because it's not a show that has like a linear story. It's just every episode is just a bunch of craziness that's hilarious. Let's see, RoboCop could have been worse. They could have given us 2 hours of backstory. Yeah. Typical Iowa says, was the Doom remake any good? I didn't think that was out yet, because I planned to see that in theaters. Let's see, Broken Super says, bro, they kept his weak, shitty human hand because only a human should be able to take a life. Oh, come on. They had to bake some political correct woke shit into the... Yeah, I'm good. When the movies need to start preaching to me about politics, it's like, it's bad enough when I hear politicians talk about politics. I certainly don't need Hollywood trying to talk about this shit. Like, we're good, guys. We got enough philosophers to help us break this shit down. I don't also need your take. Let's see. Clem says Baller is a show with The Rock. Yeah, I know about the show. I just don't watch stuff like that. I've heard the show's good. I'll probably never watch it. It's not my type of thing. It's like people told me I had to watch Breaking Bad. I watched maybe half of the first season, and I saw the end from the beginning. I was like, I don't need to watch 100 episodes of this. I already know how this ends. And people are like, but B, it's about the journey. Not for me. When I know the end destination, I don't need to go on the journey. I'm not that guy. I'm not. Because I've watched TV shows with people where I'll watch the first episode. I'm like, oh, that person is his mom. Like, B, how did you know that? Pay attention to the scene. They showed a picture in the house. That was foreshadowing, but you weren't paying attention because you're missing the subtle shit. Like, I picked that shit up because I've written entertainment. Like, I picked this shit up. So it's like when I know, even though it's great drama and great writing, I don't care. I already know the ending. So I watched the first half of the first season, and then I watched the final episode. It ended exactly like I predicted. It was like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to watch all 100 episodes of this. And by the way, I love Bryan Cranston. I just don't need to see this dark-ass drama play out. And I don't really like drama that much. And that's probably why I don't like video games as much anymore, because they're all dramas. Like, when are we going to get some comedy video games? Please. I've got enough drama in my real life that I don't need to watch Walter White have his. I'm good. And by the way, I'm not taking anything away from Breaking Bad or saying it's not good. It was, the parts I saw were fan-fucking-tastic. It's just not my thing. I don't want to watch it. Most shows suck because they drag on what should be a 2-hour plot. Yes! Typical Iowan, you just explained why I don't watch anything. Anything that's a series where I have to watch the previous episode to know what's going on now, I'm not going to watch it. Unless it's Samurai Champloo is about what it takes to get me to watch a series. Like, I'm even trying to watch Yosuke, the African Samurai show, and it's awesome. I also just don't care. And Yosuke is one of my damn. He's one of my ancestors. He and I are descended from the same line in the Sudan. Me and Yosuke, and it makes sense. Like that blood would be coursing through my veins, my crazy ass. I wanted, like, I have the book right here. In fact, if you guys are part of our Warrior Reads business, which you should be, if you haven't purchased Warrior Reads yet, go to warriorreads.com and set up your membership. Use codename Spartan so you can get the lifelong discount. But it's basically Calm for Warriors, right? And I'm going to be reading from the African Samurai. I had to take a break because I was supposed to already have this done a week ago. But, you know, I had my shit go down, so I had to pull away. But I have been slowly reading through different parts of the book to figure out which part I'm going to read. So you're going to be hearing about the story of the African Samurai when I do my reading for Warrior Reads. In fact, I was reading through some of it today. Trying to like, I want to use this chapter, but it might be, like, the chapter I want to use might be too short. So I got to get back in touch with the guys that run that part of the business so I can get it right. Yeah, and that's what I do love about the original RoboCop is that movie is a satire of human existence. This is how absurd we're going to be if we don't stop. And it was poking fun at the insanity of human beings. Suba says, but for me, RoboCop was a favorite childhood movie, so needless to say, I'm a bit so. Yeah, yeah. It was a great film, don't get me wrong. It just never landed as one of my favorites. I actually made it to the end of the comments for once, and you guys have been enjoying the stylings of Ultra's Metal Gear. Ultra was just a shell company that Konami started because Nintendo back in the day was stupid and would only let you publish 2 games a year. So the companies had to start other companies to publish games. Which, on the flip side, though, I shouldn't say Nintendo was stupid. I actually wish that existed today. You can only publish 2 games a year, and full stop. Because then you'd be forced to make sure everything you everything you turn out is quality. So Nintendo was very strict about quality control back in the days, and I wish we had some of that now, because there are a lot of just games that don't need to exist being made. And you know, respect to everybody out there that's a game developer, or a game designer. Like, I love Lorne Michaels' quote: "It's just as hard to make a bad piece of entertainment as it is to make a good one." So shitting all over something for being bad is not usually, the way we should go. And that's why, like, I always would have live streams and I'd have reviews, because my reviews would be my more objective, sane persona, right? The guy who's like, hey, every video game is good to somebody. But then on the streams, I get to be the dark side of that guy, which is angry and, hey, I hate everything. All these games suck. And the truth is, I haven't played any games. I've played very few games that I think are just absolute trash. I've played probably hundreds of games that I don't like, but that doesn't mean they're bad. Like I said, Final Fantasy VII Remake is not a bad experience. It's just an experience for a very specific type of player that's not me. But when I'm streaming it and I'm, frustrated about the ATB requiring me to have stuff to use a potion, it's like, who made this? Is this 2003? Why? Be better, guys. Like, stop. And I think it's just what happens when you have too many cooks in the kitchen. Let's see. Let's see. Suba says, hey, what's up, Lisa? Stereotypical Iowan says my favorite movie is DreamWorks Spirit. I don't know that movie. Is that a DreamWorks does animated stuff, right? I don't think I'm familiar with that. That's cool though. Broken Super says B. We seem to have the exact opposite taste in the 80s movies. I thought Freddy was more funny than scary. No, we agree on that. We agree on that. I think Freddy's hilarious. I just saw Freddy at way too young an age. But by the time Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is one of my favorite movies. It's fucking straight comedy. I saw the original Freddy Krueger when I was too young, and I didn't grow up manically depressed like you, where everything is dark. Like, I was more naive than you growing up. So seeing Freddy as like a 6-year-old fucked me up. Because I also struggle with parsing between reality and imagination. Right? So you can watch Freddy as a young kid and separate. I thought that motherfucker was real. And you also don't know the psychology that I've been talking about, because I've shared this in a couple of different places. I actually got to the bottom of why Freddy fucked me up as a kid, and it was because of the traumas that I went through and the darkness that I did see. And I'm joking. I did grow up in abuse and neglect, so I get it. The reason why Freddy was hard for me to watch as a kid, I didn't find out until I started doing working with therapists in an older age, and I kind of discovered it on my own. My therapist didn't uncover it. But here's the deal. My fear of Freddy, I found out when I dug into the bottom of me, because I do a lot of self-reflection to make myself a less shitty person. My fear of Freddy wasn't that I was afraid of him. My fear of Freddy was that I am him. When I watched Freddy as a kid, I was watching what I was going to become if I didn't get help. So it's very hard to watch what you are becoming. Which is, if you get abused enough, you become Freddy fucking Krueger. And I had some of those. I obviously was not going to put knives on my hands and go murder people. But that same rage and fucking raging against the shit that's been done wrong to you. I saw what I was becoming, and subconsciously it was hard for me to watch. Right, so Freddy had a different psychological impact on me. But as I got older, right, and was watching like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I thought, I have seen Nightmare on Elm Street 3 probably 17 times. It's hilarious. So I think we're more alike than you realize. You're just pointing to one specific instance that I think is different. Let's see, trigger alert, Pennywise is boring as shit and definitely not scary. Nope, agree with that one too. Pennywise is it, right? Yeah, no. It wasn't scary. It was eerie and stupid, but scary is not what I'd call it. So no, dude, I think we're more alike than different. It's just the original Fred I saw too young, right? And it's not something a kid who can't parse between reality. Like, my imagination is so fucking vivid that I have to be careful. Right? That's why video game stories are boring as fuck, because my imagination is better than yours. I can think of, like, when people say, you couldn't make this shit up. Now, I could totally have made this shit up. They made up Star Wars. Copyright John Mulaney. I didn't make that joke, he did. Right? But I agree with John Mulaney's point. Like, yeah, I could totally have made this up. Somebody made Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, that's all. Broken Super says, makes sense. I had a similar problem as a kid. Nipped that in the bud the instant I saw that shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I didn't know subconsciously is I was having trouble watching Fred because I was becoming. Like, you get abused enough, you're going to strike back. And yeah, like that. And honestly, I channeled it in football. That's why football was the perfect sport for me. I could have controlled violence that didn't hurt another human being, but let me get my violence out of me. I needed football, because if I didn't have football, I could hate to imagine what would have happened if I didn't have a place for all the rage that I was feeling for being abandoned and neglected and shit. Yep. That was the start of my journey into self-awareness. Yeah, me too. Me too. So yeah, picture somebody knows your future where you become a serial killer and they show you the tape. That's going to fuck you up a little bit. Like, someone comes with a time machine and says, hey, in 20 years, here's what you're up to. Oh, shit. Yeah, no. No, not that. Right. So no, I got off the train and never became Fred because because you can become one of two things. You could become, because you can use any metaphor, Hitler, Freddy Krueger, it doesn't matter. You could become the coward tyrant, which is Freddy Krueger. It's a metaphor. I'm not talking about actually becoming Fred, right? You could become the coward tyrant, or you could become altruistic. I chose altruism. But it was hard for me to watch because it was like, well, I could be that because I've experienced abuse similar to what this guy's been through. So it's like, all right, let's get off that train and turn all this dark shit into helping people instead of oppressing people, right? Or at the very least, if I can't help people, let me just not be a suck on society. And so that's why I work on this shit. You see, Typical Iowan says, my unpopular opinion, Attack of the Clones is the best Star Wars movie. I got nothing for you, man. Like what you like. My favorite RPG is Two Worlds. Beat that. You're not going to say anything to me that's more unpopular than the shit I believe. You're welcome. You're in good company. We have unpopular opinions too. I don't love Star Wars. I loved Star Wars as a kid, but by the time I became an adult, I just really didn't give a shit about it anymore. I don't watch it. I don't go back and, oh man, like I've seen all the Star Wars movies enough times. There doesn't need to be any more rewatchings. You know, so when people talk, I hate the prequels or I hate the sequels. Okay, that's fine. Or people love it. It's fine. You gotta like what you like, man. And I don't trip when people like what they like. As far as that's concerned, I think you'll probably, yes, that is definitely a very unpopular opinion because the consensus is that the prequels were all bad. The second one was probably the best out of the prequels, though. Although the third one wasn't terrible. Just the pacing was like they focused on the wrong things. Like if they had hashed out some other stuff, Star Wars 3 would have been okay. Because story-wise, the movies aren't horrible. They just did some silly things. Like, I love Hayden Christensen. I think he's a great actor. I just don't think I don't think the angsty, bitchy teenager was what they should have gone with Anakin Skywalker. And if you have to go angsty, you got to go Leonardo DiCaprio, which was the original guy they were going to cast for the film, or so I heard. And then all the Star Wars nerds went nuts because I think he was in Titanic. And like, we don't want a love guy. Like, but he's not just that. He's an amazing actor. He would have murdered as Anakin Skywalker. And like people say, Hayden Christensen's a bad actor. Like, no, he's not. Watch some of his other shit. Dude's got his shit together. Like, he just fumbled that role because the writing was what it was. Like, he can only act the scenes out as they're written. You know? It's like, what do you want him to do? Rokatsuba says, I never had an outlet for my rage, so I had to get really good at controlling it really young. Yeah, I can dig that. Probably too well. It's probably my deepest and most powerful shadow trait left untapped. Cool, so let's tap into it. That's something you and I can work on, dude. And in a controlled environment where you're not at any risk. You know, and by tap into it, I don't mean you need to go practice being a serial killer, but, you know, facing those dark tendencies and then learning how to harness them and turn them into fuel for good. That's what I work with a lot of people on the shadow side, is let's get all this darkness and just say, hey, let's become the Hitler for good. Like, if Hitler had gone the other direction, think about the good that motherfucker could have done. Like, for real. His ability to be influential, if he had been an altruistic person who wasn't a coward, who was, you know, drugged out and trying to control people. I don't know that he was drugged out, but he acted like it. And, or at least I've heard from historians. I wasn't there. Clem's favorite movie is Fight Club. Yeah, Fight Club's a good one. Suba says, I've been working trying to unlock that and use it in positive ways. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Never seen Shutter Island. Never seen it. Anyway, gang, I'm getting up out of here. I was supposed to be in the bed probably 2 hours ago. But I've enjoyed this hang. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the live streaming from the Retron 5. let's see, we had Metroid, we had some Strider, we had 30 seconds of Lagoon, and now you're looking at Metal Gear. I'll figure out what the next stream in terms of games is going to be, and then we'll figure that out. I think I'm looking at, because I'm not going to complete Metroid. I just wanted to do a quick chat about it tonight, because that's not really the most fun game to watch somebody play all the way through. But Metal Gear is a pretty cool one. I mean, you guys are watching some of the cool stuff from Metal Gear right now. I love that he tries to attack the tank with the machine gun like that's going to do something. That's always funny to me. But it's because the game's trying not to spoil what you're actually supposed to do there. I thought that was actually pretty clever. Metal Gear's a pretty cool game. Phantasy Star 3 is on the docket. Because I don't have Phantasy Star 2. That's the one I'd actually love to play with you guys. And then play 3 and then 4, but I have to own 4 in a playable fashion before I can do that. I haven't given up, even though I made that giant rant about never playing another Final Fantasy again. I actually mean no more new ones, because I'm currently playing through Final Fantasy X, which, weirdly, I'm having a good time with that. Like I said, I think Final Fantasy X made pound for pound, once you learn what the game really is, the fact that you can switch out all your characters Final Fantasy X may mechanically be the best Final Fantasy ever made. You can argue that the story is not as good as other ones. I wouldn't argue against you. I think the story in 4 is... I think 10 is probably one of my top favorite stories out of the Final Fantasy games, though. 4 is probably my all-time favorite. And then 10, and then probably 12 as far as the stories are concerned. And I love 12 as a game. The story, really not all that great. The world in Final Fantasy 12 is what makes it amazing. The story's not really all that crazy to me. It was more just being in that cool-ass world. Maybe I should stream Final Fantasy 12, because it's one of the Final Fantasies that doesn't annoy me. And gameplay-wise, it's my favorite Final Fantasy. It's not even close. It is really good. So, Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy 12. Maybe I'll dust off Final Fantasy 4 just to make sure I'm not going to hate it. But I don't know. I'll have to play that one on one of my handhelds for a little while first before I make that determination. And then we've got, like I said, Phantasy Star 3. We've got Lagoon. And I think what I'm actually going to come back and stream next is Lagoon, because that was the original thing I was going to stream tonight. But then I was like, let's do Metroid, because Lagoon... I wanted to talk with you all tonight, and Lagoon is going to require a lot of focus. So I'd rather play Lagoon and hang versus focus more on the talking. What else do I have now? Rygar is an awesome game. Not necessarily the best thing to stream. But anyway, we'll figure it out. I tried to look at some of the new games on Xbox. Oh, there's Ease 8. Actually makes a lot of sense. I just have to find it in one of my PlayStation 4 box. I have boxes. Like, I have games on my shelves, but then I also have boxes of games. So, Ease 8 might be what we head back to. And then, yeah. Wait a minute. Do I have... Hey, I do have Shadow Hearts Covenant. I thought so. Shadow Hearts Covenant's another game, but I don't want to start the Shadow Hearts series until I have the original back in my collection. Rogue Galaxy. Now, there's a game that would probably be fun to watch on a stream, because that story is pretty... That's another one of those, it's whimsical, but it's also a very adult-themed but whimsical game. It's a nice balance. And I've never finished it. I always get bored and quit, but I've always like, there's something here to this game that I like, and I just keep giving up on it. I gotta stick with it. But yeah, so let me take these last comments, and then we'll get up out of here. Tipple Ironwood says, thanks for the stream, B. Yeah, no, thank you guys for being here, man. It's a two-way street. Two-way gratitude. Alyssa says, I had to take a call, so I disappeared suddenly. Thanks for letting me know my reasons for wanting kids are noble. Many people are hopeless, given the state of the world, and I say I shouldn't, and say I should. Oh, I see what you're saying. That comment makes a lot. Yeah, stop hanging out with people like that. These people who think the world's getting ready to crash into the sun, they just don't have perspective. The world has never been better than it is right now. Yes, we've had a pandemic that's made shit tough for a couple of years. Like, it's nowhere near the black goddamned plague, guys. Like, humans, more than any time in human history, have become so bitchy. It's like, do we have any resilience left at all? Like, and it's like, by the way, the emotional landscape that I'm seeing in America is the same shit that led to the Great Depression. If you didn't know, it wasn't people fucking up finances that led to the Great Depression, more so than the emotional state and the communication cycle of the humans that created the reality. Right? And even physicists are starting to prove that consciousness shapes reality, which I've been telling you guys for the last 10 years. And the Bible and other spiritual books have been saying it for 10,000 years. But now all of a sudden the physicists say it, so people are paying attention. Right? It's never been better out here, guys. Never has there been more opportunity to come out and win. It's just shit is hard. I do feel bad for the generation of people that got sold what the baby boomers created, which was this world where everyone goes to college and gets a 30-year job and pays off their debt. That doesn't exist anymore. And so when I see people shitting on millennials, and I tease all generations, but like when I see people shitting on millennials, I'm like, well, hold on a second. Because they got the bait and fucking switch. And I guess I should say we, technically, I'm like in there. Like when they first put out the marketing report, I was a millennial and then I became a Generation X and then I was back to millennial. Like I'm right on the cusp, right? Anyway, like we got a raw deal. We got told, hey, go to college so you can get a good job. And then by 2006, you had people with fucking law degrees who had to go work at Dairy Queen because there wasn't enough work to go around for everybody who had all these expensive ass educations. And it's like, not everyone's not going to be able to just go work for 30 years and then go sit on a beach. And that's what the baby boomers were sold. And so they lived out that life thinking that that was going to be sustainable. It's the stupidest shit. In no time in human history has that ever been sustainable. Where you can just work for a time and then say, fuck it. Also, we didn't used to live as long if you go far enough back in human history. So people would be dead and not holding up the healthcare system. Right? Which, you know, I'm glad people live longer. I'm not complaining about that. But it's like some of these young people got sold the wrong shit. And so now they're carrying ungodly amounts of debt that you're going to go work at Dairy Queen and pay that shit off? Like, no. So it's like before we shit all over people, let's remember that we created the world that they're living in now and they're cleaning up our fucking mess. Their parents could go work at Walmart for damn near minimum wage and pay off a house in 30 years. These young cats don't have that shit. So let's let them be upset for 5 seconds while they're still trying to figure out how to make a life. And by the way, them being upset and angry is what's going to be the fuel that makes them better if they learn how to turn it into resilience, which I have every bit of faith that this young generation is going to make it better than any of us, than any other generation ever has. But everybody's doom and gloom. Why? Because doom and gloom fucking sells. And it's media companies run by advertising companies that are running the game. Turn that shit off. I love you guys. I'll see you in a couple days.